Good morning and welcome to the Morning Connection, coming to you live from the Ligony Club. It's Thursday again. Can't believe it. What makes Thursday special for us is, of course, we get to do this outdoors in the cool, refreshing breeze of New Kingston. Can you imagine a city with cool, refreshing breeze? But good morning to all of you, and especially good morning to my co-host, Pastor Percival, and to the production team. Every morning there's some kind of new blessing. I'm gonna call it that.
It's a
'Cause we are
beautiful
indeed gonna
day.
have a wonderful day. Morning, Percy.
You wondering why I keep saying it's a beautiful day. Jermaine
just thought you
Everett
were
has
stuck
this
on it.
song. It's a beautiful day, and he says, I woke up in the morning with every part in my body okay, and so that's a beautiful day. And I always tell you I'm above, not beneath. I'm above the ground, not beneath the ground. So that's a beautiful day, and how wonderful it is that we are out here, and how wonderful, even more blessed it is when we come together as one in unity. And the darkness has moved away from us, and the light is shedding. People have walked in darkness are seeing a great light. What a great and wonderful light that is. As we were saying yesterday, and I'm on the theme about light, because we are in the season of Advent, and what happens?
Well,
Jesus came and dispelled the darkness.
yesterday, one of our listeners wrote such a beautiful note to us. He says, "If you're in darkness, call the show." Of course, we're only on in the mornings, so and on Thursday mornings, it's especially difficult to call us. But we're looking forward to a really wonderful time with you this morning. We have two guests lined up, maybe three, two for sure. Three would be an excess of blessings. But we have Mr. Courtney Campbell of the Victoria Mutual Group. He's coming to spend some time with us this morning. He's not really going to be talking about his company. We're going to see more of the heart behind some of what he does, not just where he is now, but his journey to this point. So we're looking forward to speaking to Courtney Campbell. Here's one of the things that we've committed to doing, and we've had one or two guests in that vein. We've made a commitment to engage in conversations with Jamaicans, or if they're not Jamaicans, people who have, through the application of certain principles, certain discipline, a certain kind of discipline, made their journey to a point of excellence in their professional and personal lives that is worth emulating.
That's
And
true,
so
that's
Pastor has plucked into his network and brought
I
out
like what you said. Network.
he just brought out a friend of his who happens to be a man who believes in the values, applies the principles that we talk about here so much. And we're very pleased to welcome Courtney at around 7:30. I think he's going to just spend some time in conversation with us. Last week, we had the lovely Diane. And who else did we have? Oh, and we had Vivine.
Yes. And we had
the
one
linguist.
of our regular callers who came and visited us.
And yes, and we had Frank. Frank dropped by.
yeah.
Spend some time with us both at the table and then later on just chatting with us. So if you are in the neighborhood, please remember JD's Urban Pub serves one of the best local breakfasts. I talk about the local breakfast because I'm always ordering the corn pork and African saltfish. Catherine is nearby. Good morning, Catherine.
We said, Catherine, morning. Make sure you put on our corn pork.
A generous helping of African saltfish and corn pork. But Pastor loves the Full House omelette, which is, I know that it has callaloo in it. So it is healthy. I've had it too, but I never can resist the corn pork. There isn't much pork in my household because the producer only eats chicken and fish. So I get excited when I'm outside and can have
get
different
to
things.
Hello, as you talk about that, as you talk about relationships.
I am talking about relationships.
Yes, you are.
I was talking about food.
You're talking about food and relationship, but we talk about fellowship and being in unity and in oneness. Do you know that an important part of fellowship and relationship is swallowship? When you eat a meal together. You've never heard that one before?
I've only heard it from you 2 or 3 times.
Swallowship. Well, it's true.
I'm hoping that it will become a part of my my dialect.
You notice when Jesus was about the place, he was constantly meeting and eating and things, because when you are sitting down and having a meal with somebody, it speaks about fellowship, it speaks about oneness. So it's swallowship. Important part of fellowship is swallowship.
Well, we were talking about the lust of the flesh.
It's not a loss this morning because remember, I was careful to point out yesterday to you, my friend, that it must be done in moderation.
Okay, sir.
Because remember, they rebuked him and says, how come John's disciples are fasting and you are out there as a wine bibber and a eater of things? And he says, all right. When the bridegroom is with you, you celebrate.
We feast.
You celebrate and you have a good time. But
Yeah.
it's important. I think that the important lesson or principle that comes out of that is fellowship. When you are sitting down to have a meal with somebody, a lot of things can happen.
You know, that is why I brought in the lust of the flesh, not intending. We use the word lust, but I think that's just to identify that when it is an overwhelming need and addiction, then it is now just not just performing some necessary activity that keeps the body together. But I have found that some of the best meetings and the best discussions I've had are accompanied by food and conviviality. Let's put it that way.
Scholarship.
No, you're calling it. I'm calling it.
I know you know what
I'm calling it conviviality because I'm fancy like that.
I love it.
But
I love
yeah,
it.
and in part, I think it's because as you are meeting the other needs of the body, you create a harmonious environment in your own person,
And
soul,
ambiance.
and then naturally a lot of good things happen. That might also be why. Oh well, I won't say that. It's kind of like that link between the rush of new births and carnival.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
All right, so you alluded to it, but we are together on this. Psalm 133 verse 1. How good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity.
That's where the blessing comes. Blessing commands. Blessing comes into the place.
Absolutely.
When there's a oneness.
There is a oneness.
And the unity is about unity of purpose. Unity of purpose. You might be diverse, but in terms of going after a goal, you are united in terms of saying this is what we're doing. And unity doesn't mean uniformity. You know that, right?
I know that.
Yeah.
It's
But
harmony.
some people speak about when they think of unity, everybody look and talk the same way.
need to look.
No. Let's get that out of the way early.
Uniformity is just part of the appearance of unity, but you don't need to be
Uniform.
in a uniform.
I mean, you is totally different, but we are in oneness.
Yeah,
We are in unity, and that is where. So we're expecting the blessing to start flowing.
The blessings
the
have
year's
been
out.
flowing.
Yeah.
We want to talk about Aaron's beard.
Yes. It's just
All right, so
all flowing down
we've
from Aaron.
been talking about the law and state largely because what binds us in Jamaica land we love is the fact that we are members of the same state bound together by a covenant, otherwise called a constitution, with which we're not very satisfied, but we understand the very ability that we have to identify the limitations of the constitution is because we are seeing that there are more things that bind us and that there are more things that we need to attend to.
That's true.
In unity than the constitution allows for or mentions, or we are dissatisfied with it because we realize that it should be reflecting more of who we are and what we want. So there is some unity in our discontent. There can be unity in discontent.
That's true. And we're talking about, I remember we spoke about
unity
culture.
in the struggle.
Yeah. We're talking about the Institute of Jamaica.
Yes.
And and we're saying that culture is such an important part of who we are. It is what we do on a daily basis. The expressions.
The cultural expressions that also drive development.
And drive unity. And
Yeah.
in terms of science and the other things that were there. But to throw back for me, of I teasingly speak to you about swallowship, but I remember as a youngster, one of the things that we do in the summers when there was no school, because where I lived there was a river running behind of it, would run a boat. And running on the boat, you know about boat, right? We're not talking about boat out in the water or the dingy as you would tell me about that in the boat that somebody invited you to go on their boat for the weekend. That was so funny. But we'd run a boat, so
I know about running the
mother
boat.
would say, "What happened to my flower?" Or the saltfish or the thing.
Or
So
the chicken
each
back.
person would the chicken back. Who was a part of the group? We would run a boat. And remember those days. There's this book that we had in high school, Green Days by the River by Michael Anthony. You know of that book
I know of
about
it, I
coming
know of it.
into adolescence as a
Yes,
young
coming
man.
of age
This guy out of
in the
Trinidad it
tropics.
was, yeah. But we run a boat and we had great times as friends. I can never forget a friend of mine. He's abroad now. His name was um,
Well, you have forgotten
Armstrong.
him.
Yeah, man.
You
No,
said
man,
I can
Armstrong.
never
No, man.
forget.
No. His name. No,
Just teasing him.
Mark. Yeah, but it's important.
All right, before we take the break, we're coming up on the break. It's necessary that we do that now? All right, let's take our break. When we return, we will talk about the topics for the morning. Please stay with us. This is the Morning Connection, and we will be right back. The Ligani Club is also home to a beautiful set of rooms that you can call your own for a reasonable fee of whatever rate is going for the day. But the rates are typically very competitive. And of course, you can find yourself at a better location. I think there are like 6 tennis courts. We have 6 squash courts. We have a very nice size swimming pool. I almost said Olympic size, but I think I'm wrong about that.
Yeah, baby.
We have a fully equipped gymnasium. And what else do we have, Percy?
JD's Pops.
And JD's Urban Pub. How could I
Yes,
forget that?
Food,
When we
good
took the
food,
break, I
standard.
think I was still talking about breakfast.
And Catherine has,
And Pastor was talking about swallow ship
yes, swallow ship.
and cooking food by the river.
Like boat, run boat.
Running boat by the river.
And I think the producer understand what we're talking about. The producer, as a little youth, when we lived, we talk about Ensom
And some
City.
city.
I mean, run ship.
When
Not
you all-
boat anymore,
this
run
is
ship.
Where you all thought the canal was a river.
No. The river Kobe ran behind of Ensom City.
I'm being cheeky.
Yeah, I know that you are being
nothing
cheeky,
about
but
the canal.
you know, and remember our days in terms of going into the cane piece and Ranger running us down with shotgun. Remember them days, Lowell? Yes.
Also, it's long time gunman a run down. Black men.
It still is a
Sorry.
feature in terms
Yeah,
of
sorry,
agriculture
Rangers.
of estates, you know,
Yeah,
to the
I
Rangers.
know,
Yeah.
I know. All right, so how good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. I have picked that verse from Psalm because as we talk about bringing in, ushering in change, and we have to look at the diversity of interests, and we have to look at the fact that Jamaica have the highest number of churches per capita anywhere in the world. There are a number of, it means we have a more than probably more than acceptable diversity of views and perspectives that are thriving for ascendancy or priority. We then have to be especially careful on how we parse through all the voices to pick a course that is generally reflective of a democratic process and consensus, and a course that we can aim for in our fight for what is it we're fighting for, Percy?
New covenant.
New covenant. That
We
is
fight for the new covenant,
That's
or
a-
fight for a better Jamaica, or fight for real prosperity and thriving for those of us who call Jamaica home. People have said to me, you know, my son, oh, it's interesting. My son says, Daddy, have you not considered living somewhere else outside of Jamaica? And I said to him, you know, I've considered it, but no place no better than here. There's a festival song like that.
That's why you speak to your son in lyrics,
In what?
in the lyrics of songs.
No. Yeah,
Son,
but
I've considered it, but
no place no better than here, because you have traveled significantly too, and I have been to Africa, England, all over the place, but there's no place like Jamaica, and our hope really is for us that we get it right and we make it better. You know, some of us can not complain, but as a Christian, it has always been not only about me, but it's about the other people that I connect with, the other people that I live with, the other people who are Jamaicans like me, and the whole need to make it better for everybody. Somebody says better together, we have to do it. And so we can't think about ourselves only. The golden rule says, do unto others as you like them do unto you. So it's about that. And that's something I know you have said to your children and as a husband and wife team. And it's something that I've also shared with my children. I'm not saying to them you can't leave, but there's no place like yard, as we call it.
Mhm. Yeah, I got distracted a bit because I was looking at,
The news.
yeah, just something in the paper where Mr. what's his name?
Arthur
Mr.
Lewin?
Lewin.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Lewin.
Farmer.
Yeah, was setting the record straight, and it's not so much the content of what he was saying that caught my attention, but the fact that two things happened. A very keen reader pointed out that some misrepresentation of a legal finding had been included in a previous letter from Mr. Lewin to the paper. And having pointed it out, Mr. Lewin then took the time to set the record straight in his own voice by writing to the paper, and it's been published. It matters not what it is about. What is important for me is to see a certain level of discourse and civility and continuation of an important discussion, not just by the people but also by the media, because the Gleaner took the time to publish it, and I think it is just a very encouraging sign. One of the things that we've not done very well is we've not listened to each other, and we have not pursued conversations to some level of civilized finality where you could say, all right, we learned something from it and we can take a decision on the next step. It's a very important part of our democracy and our coming of age as a nation that we can have public discussions on things that are of importance. Just so you know, the letter in question and the issue touch and concern the constitutionality of the state of emergency. And Mr. Lewin had written about a decision of the court in 1976 in relation to the 1976 state of emergency. Yes, I'm very appreciative of that course of events because it's what we're trying to encourage here. We want to hear and to encourage listeners, Jamaicans, to get into the conversation and to be bold enough to say your piece. And if you're right, those of us who want to move along with it, move along with it. And if you're wrong, those who want to issue the correction, and for those who are corrected, to be mature enough and humble enough to receive it graciously. I think this is, I don't know Mr. Lewin well. I don't know him personally, let's put it that way. But I think this is a very good showing. Similarly, the Gleaner editorial is just on point, speaking to the behavior of the President of the Senate when the government side did not have their way with the extension of the state of emergency.
Because of the provision that was put into.
And I say thank
1811.
God for that provision. That's what I say as someone who is very concerned about procedure. You know, I grew up appreciating that form should never overtake substance. But when form is the substance, you cannot deny its legitimacy. When I say form should never overtake substance, I believe in functionality and purpose. I'm not going to spend a lot of time trying to put frills and lace on a donkey when the purpose of the donkey is to carry
the
bird.
donkey. It's to transport you.
No, and to this day, I mean, I'm still, as a child, I was not frilly, or, you know, I was not into certain aesthetic enhancements.
We're not a beauty queen.
And I still am not. I don't use a lot of makeup. If at
So when we
all.
see her with makeup, is a thing. That's why my friend
it's
said,
never
boy,
a lot.
is a nice queen, you know.
We're not going to talk about that.
You should have seen my co-host blushing in the studio yesterday.
And I thought it was hilarious. It was. I don't know. You saw me blushing. Did I turn pink? I purpled up.
Yes, you purpled up.
No, I just thought it was hilarious because I've heard. Okay, I remember the first case I did, my first trial, in court. I'd had occasion to speak to either the opposing counsel or I spoke with someone in the process on the phone. That's how we had been doing a lot of things on the phone, and they'd never met me.
So when they saw you,
I said I was looking for a big person. What do you mean?
And you ask them what they mean by that.
Yeah, because of course, I mean, I don't know. I was
No,
barely,
she's not very tall.
I
That's
was
what she
barely
said.
100 pounds.
Yes, she's not
at the
very
time.
tall. Well, since our
I'm
university, she has put on some weight.
Hey.
But yes.
We don't talk about things like that.
Yeah, but you're
We're
not
not
very
in
tall.
unity on that point.
But
So has
anyway.
Percy, by the way. Since we're, but yeah, but I'm always amused by, person's reaction to me. They hear my voice, they know my voice very well, but I don't know what they have in mind of who's speaking. Sometimes people don't have any
That's happened to me
particular
too
thing in
already.
mind. Yeah, usually what you hear, they thought you were shorter, or
No.
what?
In
Since you
fact,
think you're 6 feet.
I don't think I'm 6. That's what my passport says. So as you leave that out. But it's true, I said, we're looking for a bigger person, a fatter person, that kind of a
Yeah,
thing.
you
And
have a bigger your
yes,
voice.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I'm saying no. But back to your point about form and
What was
function.
my point?
Form and function, you're talking about the
Kidding.
donkey.
Yes, so I'm never one to pursue form over function. I tend to be very
Functional.
very focused in how
Myself
I look
too.
at things. Yes, things are made for a purpose, and if it is, but I mean, as I've matured, I have recognized, and then in another world, I absolutely love beautiful things. I find beauty in everything I
Art
look
and
at.
everything.
I can find the beauty in it, no matter what it is. I
part
can
of
find.
your soul,
I will
my
find
sister.
beauty in garbage.
Yes, soul. It's part of your soul.
If
Percy or no?
the producer said Percy's loved. Percy has a beautiful smile. Percy has a teasing smile. When he's smiling, you know he's thinking something naughty. That's how I see your smile, by the way.
Okay.
Are you usually thinking something naughty? All right, I caught him. He immediately, the same thing. But I find beauty in everything that I see. So then you begin to understand that there is a need to guard the form of a thing. And I even, just to digress, I watch my son come into the same. When he's a bit of an engineer from birth, he was taking things and shaping them into new designs. And sometimes it would be very crude. I mean, he'll take a nail and put it in the middle of something because all he wants to do is hold it together, and it doesn't matter how the nail look and so on.
Just
And
wants
even
to
now,
function as a
as
nail.
he's learning to be more careful about personal grooming and so on. If I say, "Why are you in that shirt? That shirt doesn't fit well," he says, "What does it matter? Nobody's seeing it. We're at home." I'm like, "No, you've got to learn. You have to,
Girls are coming.
maintain a certain." The girls are coming. Says, "Pastor, do not say that." I have banned that conversation. No one is
Stop,
to tell
Mr.
me.
Producer. You go on to form and function.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
no
go
one
ahead.
is to tell me that the girls are coming. Anyway, but I watch him and I understand how first you just want to make a thing work.
Right.
And even if it's inelegant, is it working? Is your question. But then as you mature, you begin to see that to hold the attention of persons who need to benefit from the purpose of the thing that you have created, form is very important. And therefore, in the Senate, you see how I've moved from art to politics? And therefore, in the Senate, the graciousness, the civility, the
Discussion,
appearance
discourse,
of
dialogue.
absolutely, it is critical when we see the Speaker of the House, as my friend wrote of her ample skirt. When you see her protecting her brood and then disparaging the other side, doesn't look good. And regardless of the content of what they're saying, you're so distracted by the appearance of unfairness that you miss the whole point of it. So form is very important, and a part of our democracy is to ensure that the procedures, the form that we follow in doing certain things, it has to be an enhancement and not a distraction to the process of democracy. That is what we practice. We have a parliamentary democracy. Even if the people who got there didn't get there by the, even if we don't think they represent us fully,
Yes, that's true.
they are there, and while they are there, there's an expectation that they will behave in a certain way. I thought it was
Certain
very
decorum.
inappropriate for the
Speaker,
for the
leader of the
the
Senate.
attorney general to censure a senator for, in particular, to point out a particular person whom she felt ought to have voted for the extension of the state of emergency.
It was one of
And
her
then
senators
when
that
you
went
add
from the
the-
opposite.
I'm sorry.
She was the person that she went after. Was it one of her own?
Yes. No, not one of her own. All of her own voted with her. The 13 of them voted en bloc.
Okay.
It was an opposition senator. And remember, in the Senate, though they are appointed in this way by
Okay, they're
one
supposed to
party
be
or another,
independent-minded.
they must be independent minded and think of the larger picture, right? So I stand with the editor today of the Gleaner. She has written that Tavares Vincent crossed the line. He not only crossed the line, he
Jump
he-
over the
he-
precipice.
and then she said he leapt over the cliff, and he knew he was leaping because when somebody told him don't do it, he said somebody's telling me don't do it, and he forged ahead with a complete disregard for. But I don't know that Mr. Tavares Vincent has much more time left in politics in the House. What do you think?
No. From I was a boy, I knew about him, so I don't know. And he's not a chicken.
He's not not despite his looks, because I think he's quite youthful looking.
Yeah, he
I haven't
looks
seen him in a long time.
Yeah, he looks
But,
beautiful. Yeah, yeah.
So perhaps it's what you do in the final run.
No, but you at that point, I have interacted with politicians after their time. You go about and you see them and you say, and you get to engage them in conversation. And I remember this was a distinct conversation that I had with he was a rural MP, and he was
Senior,
saying,
of some seniority.
yeah, and he was saying, no, Baba, if there were things that he could have done with what he knows now,
Yes.
he would have changed some of the things that he did when he was a sitting member of parliament in terms of some of the positions that they took. And I'm saying, okay. And what was happening to him, he had a son with his son, and his son looked very young, so it looks like it was his second marriage or whatever was happening. And he said, boy, when I'm thinking about my son now and what he's about to face in terms of what's happening to society, he said, we could have done better in terms of some of the things that we did as politicians. So what am I saying to us? And you hear me speak this over and over again. The Jews, in terms of their planning, the father thinks about his grandchildren, don't think about
The son,
his
the
children,
son,
because
yeah.
his father would have taken care of his son. And the same way, when we are making decisions, when we are sitting in the house, most of the parliamentarians have children. And you ask me if I would go overseas. Remember, most of their children will have to live here in the society that they have somehow been a part of creating, and we need to take that into consideration. This thing with the SOEs, I asked them, with what the changes that they brought about in terms of being able to apprehend and then no bill case. Suppose your son, your daughter was in that position. Would you want that for them?
And they say then they'll tell you that they're prepared to sacrifice their daughter.
Really? That goes back to another thing. That kind of like Molech when they were showing the children in the file.
But are you serious, PM? That is
yeah.
the question
Mhm.
that Patrick Gallimore in one of the letters today. Today it seems to be all about looking at process and form. And I'm going to repeat the 4 questions that a citizen is asking. He says if the PM is serious about his view on changing the penalty for illegal possession of firearm, then the PM should immediately resign from being a member of the Queen's Privy Council.
Okay.
The PM should swiftly lead the charge in constitutionally removing the Queen as Jamaica's ceremonial head of state. The PM should immediately lead the charge in making the Caribbean Court of Justice Jamaica's final court of appeal.
appellate court, yeah. I'm in
The red
agreement
tape involved with obtaining a firearm license should be, where possible, reduced. Then and only then will we be able to take the PM at his word that left up to him, the death penalty would be applied to persons convicted of the possession of an illegal firearm. I like the 4 questions. I can't quite see how he links it to the PM's utterance, unless he's saying it's a credibility issue.
Yeah, I think that's what he said.
Yes, and that's it. The letter is very brief. It posed the 4 questions against that premise, and that's where Patrick Gallimore has left it on today's editorial page or opinion page in the edition of the Gleaner. You notice I do like the Gleaner. I really should do. I should refer some more to the other papers.
Yeah, in the Observer. The Observer have some good articles too.
Yeah.
But it has been accused of being, anyway, leave it at that.
Well,
to
I
shift
think
focus a little bit.
Sure, because your guest should be here
Elaine
anytime now.
Thompson,
Oh, yes, congratulations.
she was voted Female Athlete of the Year. And I think, to my own mind, when you consider the other candidates she was up against, it was like cheese to chalk.
Meaning the other candidates were
good,
were the chalk?
but in terms,
I hope so, because she said it was a formidable, or was she just being polite?
Being polite, but I'm just thinking in terms of what she has achieved. I'm thinking that if she never held up her hands, should have broken the world record in the 200 meters, and probably 100 meters, which has stood from 1988. Those 2 world records, which is under question because of some people are saying, no man, in terms of the drugs and all that were very much a part of the sport until WADA decided to try to push it.
All right, you and I are having too much fun chit-chatting, and you know I'm not a chit-chatterer.
Okay.
And so I want to just introduce the main subject for the day before our guest arrives, and you assured me that he is likely to be early rather than late, and we're coming up on the 7:30. Well, actually 7:31.
Yeah.
So all right, so I get the engineer has given me permission to proceed. So here's what I want us to talk about. We've been looking at democracy, because I don't think that when the change comes, we will shift from being a democracy to any other form of government.
You think there's another thing on the cards?
No, I don't think there is, although if some trends are suggesting we might become a police state, but God forbid. We are moving against it, and we're aiming we speak against it. So now I want us to open our minds to consider democracy as a tool for unity. And this now is thinking of democracy as a process, not democracy as a philosophy or an end result, but as a process. Democracy as a tool for unity. If you are going to come together on some common points, you must have a process for getting to that point. And democracy as a process is the ideal tool to take us to that place. And then when you consider democracy in its broader sense as the process by which you achieve this unity, you then layer in the use of law as a tool for unity. How can we be unified in our thinking, in our ambitions, in our perspective, through the use of carefully passed and implemented law and regulation? So that's where we are. When this gentleman joins us, we will engage him in a conversation now on how law is being used and how it can better be used as a tool for management of our economy. He has worked as a banker, or a financial professional, a professional in the finance industry, all of his career, and so I think he is in a very good position to participate in some kind of discussion on how things are regulated, how codes of conduct come into being, how the customer can, achieve a better position in the thinking around how some of these services are put together, and how the finance sector in particular operates. I really do hope he comes. If not, Pastor and I will have to talk about it on our own. So until that comes, now there is and here he is. what timing? Our guest is here.
You couldn't find us.
Can you set him up for me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man. Push on.
Oh, all right. So first, let's make sure that the chair is comfortable. Good morning, Mr. Campbell. You're still off camera.
Morning, sir.
You're off. You'll be off camera for a few moments while we get you set up. I was saying all kinds of wonderful things about you and the things we're gonna talk about. So while that is happening, I'm gonna repeat it because I know you were walking to us, so you would not have heard how I phrased the topic. All right, so we're using Psalm 133, verse 1. How good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. We've chosen unity as the topic because Jamaica is at a point where much is being discussed to bring us to a consensus on how to move forward on some critical issues. Handling the escalating crime and violence being at the top of the list, but right behind it, managing the economy and creating an environment of prosperity for all Jamaicans has got to be the second one. And I suspect if we get that one right, the other one will fall away because happy people don't have no time for crime. Or then you cannot
Engage
isolate
people, because with the
see where the
prosperous
crime
economy,
is. All right.
they will find work for idle hands.
So because we do a lot of social and political commentary, I've layered into it now, looking at democracy as as a process now, democracy as a tool for unity, and law being layered in as a tool for unity. We know you have been a professional in the financial industry for all your career, and there you are.
You look young, eh?
Well, he is young.
Courtney, and he's, you know,
Just
I
so
tell
you
you
know,
something.
he's just been
Courtney been friend
unmasked.
for a very long time.
How are we gonna get Courtney in the frame today?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's it.
It's in the print. No, but thank you for coming, Courtney. I know we have a friendship for many years. She's at Irvinite.
Oh gosh.
Every
She's
time I
at
touch
Irvinite.
this something.
And we're on campus together.
Great.
Yeah. Right.
Well, the Seacolites are chancellors, best friends, our sisters, but we love Urbanites as well.
Yes.
eh?
Oh well, how gracious
love
of
Urbanites.
you.
Not
And
so
then
sure.
again, how
Not,
good and pleasant
not,
it is.
not so sure about the Taylor heads, but we love Urbanites.
A bit about Courtney. Courtney is married. He's a father of two young men.
So tell me why you started with marriage.
Because it's stability, and it's stability, and as you
So
talk
he was
about
not
economy,
stable when he was unmarried?
you're gonna get that, Courtney. That's how she is. He's a countryman like you,
Oh,
Yeah.
which parish?
Manchester.
Which you're from
No,
Manchester?
no, actually, I went to school at the border of Manchester and Clarendon, but I'm really from Clarendon. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh,
You went to
okay.
Knox.
I went to Knox College, yeah.
You know, had I not
The-
gone to St. Hilda's, it
Yeah.
would have been Knox.
It would have been Knox.
Because Knox is really closer to me than St. Hilda's.
Gotcha.
I'm from a little part of St. Anne that borders Clarendon.
Okay.
You go through Spalding's as if you're going to Brownstown.
Yes.
That big corner,
Yes.
Mount Moriah.
That's right.
So we're in Clarendon. What
So
village? What town?
Kellits in Clarendon.
Ah,
Have you heard of
oh,
Kellits?
Of course I have. I've
Okay.
been to
To
Kellits.
Kellits, yeah.
Who called Kellits? Oh, when JN was going to Plowden.
Yeah.
Somebody was asked, said something about Kellits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
doing some work here.
But my family, we relocated to Spanish Town during high school years. But yeah, spent some of my
Do
childhood
you
in
know
Kellits.
that I've met so many persons for whom the rural to urban migration path starts with Spanish Town.
Yes.
They moved from
Interesting.
somewhere else. Lowell's family, the producer, they left somewhere near Bamboo in St. Anne and Spanish Town.
Great.
So for us, like I'd always thought that the rural to urban drift was to a big city, but Spanish Town perhaps was a big city at the time when your parents made the
We're
move.
not necessarily strange enough. During my earlier childhood, we spent 4 years in Kingston.
Ah.
So I was born in Clarendon and Chapeltown Hospital. We lived in Kellits, as I said. And then for 4 years, we lived in Kingston, went back to Kellits, and then and then to
then
Spanish Town.
Spanish Town.
Yeah, yeah. So we're
Spanish Town is very charming.
we're all over. So we're well exposed, I would say, to a variety
I hear a lot
of Jamaican life.
Sorry, let me get the sound right.
Getting a little feedback.
Yeah.
And what's your lovely wife?
Pauline.
Pauline. Yes.
Mhm.
So your wife is a secret life?
Go.
Yes, absolutely.
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 So
Absolutely.
it was one of those campus.
Yes, that's right. We met on
Can you
campus. That's
imagine
right.
that?
Very efficient.
Yeah. Very efficient. Got your studies done. Got your life partner
Okay.
signed off. All right. How is that?
Okay. All right. So, Courtney, thank you very much for coming. He now operates as the
No, go ahead,
as the
Nanny.
CEO of the VMBM group, right?
VM Group. That's right.
For the last 5 years.
Just almost 6 now, but yes,
Almost.
5.5 years.
5.5 years. We're
Mhm.
getting a bit of feedback in the mic. I don't know
Yeah,
what it is.
it's my mind.
That's right. We need drama.
Right. So,
Go ahead.
and so you've been there, but you have had an interesting path. You for many years you worked with NCB, then you went to Grace Kennedy Group of companies, and then people over VM says, "That's a rising star. Let's go and get him." According to things. So, so how has that been for you?
It has been a tremendous experience. It's a great privilege serving the members and clients of the VM Group. It's a great experience working with the VM team, a very committed team, a highly engaged team, a purpose-driven team. So, you know, and right throughout that enterprise, you find some people who are very committed to the purpose of VM. Whether they've been there for 20 years, 30 years, or 2 months, you find this great alignment. So it's really a great experience. And it has been a great experience, and we continue to be excited about what we have ahead of us in VM.
I want to share something with you, and I found it so fascinating. And this is a story that I was talking to one of our members, and I says, I hear that Courtney Campbell has become your CEO, and she just went off. In a very good way, she says, you know,
Oh, Percy.
yeah, she
Is
went
this
off
form
in a very good
overtaking
way.
substance?
Meaning that she just liked you as a CEO, and she says, here's what happened. For many years, I've worked in the call center, and I was on contract. And one of the first things that he did was that he looked at it and he says, no, these people need to be on staff. Because the thing is for most people, is to contract out those services. But you decided that don't make no sense for you. What drove that decision?
Well, I wouldn't take full credit for that. I mean, typically, moves like that will be worked out with our HR team and our executive team, and really it just requires alignment around how we want to treat our people, right?
And this is internally now.
Internally, that's correct.
yeah.
And
Your
the
first client.
and at the end of the day, what we're running is a people business.
Okay.
You know, that's how we differentiate ourselves, by the quality of service that we deliver, and the more committed and engaged our people are, it's a better service that they provide to all members and clients. Now, you know, there are certain roles for which that level of commitment has to be really very, very high. We do still have contract team members, to be clear, for some roles that may be, you know, transitory. You know, you won't have them around for a long period of time. Probably they're working on a special project, and the project will end in a few months or a year or so. So it really wouldn't be viable to have that as a permanent role. So we do have some like that. But, you know, if it is a role that we're pretty clear is a permanent role, then once the people are performing, we're going to bring them on.
Well, I mean, and that is in keeping with the law.
Yeah.
We were talking about the social taxes the other day, NIS, and I'm still reflecting on it because a part of the commitment as citizens under one covenant is that whatever it is that I need to do to promote your long-term welfare,
Yes.
I should do it. and I should take the doing of it seriously, even if it is at some expense or inconvenience to me. And when you talk about your people first, it's very Machiavellian, by the way. Percival brought up Prince Machiavelli in the other day and had me. So we dive into things, and one of the principles from his theory of government is that it is in the best interest of the state to please the people or to gain favor with the people. So that is a Machiavellian principle. Though most of us, when we think Machiavelli, we think of standing on the one man's back to get to the other.
Absolutely.
There's a sense, and I've been exposed to it, there's a sense that sometimes in this effort to be people pleasing, we more do it in form than in substance. How do you ensure that the heart of what you're trying to deliver is expressed? Because I've been in businesses where they have the right form and you see that the structure is there, but people are unhappy. Are your people happy?
Well, the numbers say that they are. So
what are the numbers to test happiness, by the way?
Our engagement scores, our retention percentage is higher than we even target. So I think the answer to your question is that if you start with clarifying your purpose,
that's a big kingdom principle.
Yes,
absolutely.
Course,
Start by clarifying your purpose. So, why were we established in November 1878?
William Gordon was a part of that?
No, but
God was a part of that.
Some other clergymen were. In fact, VM is a very, very interesting story that VM was established by a group of clergymen.
Of mixed faith or
interdenominational.
Unity. I love it.
Interdenominational. So
the Catholics
interdenominational.
Yes.
So Catholics,
the Anglicans,
Anglicans.
the Methodists.
In fact, the lead was Reverend Donner, who was a rector of Kingston Parish Church, and he pulled together a team.
So that would be Anglican.
Anglican, that's correct. And he pulled together a team of Congregationalists, which is now United Church, Methodists, Moravians, even
Baptist. Please say Baptist.
I'm pretty sure, but even someone from the Jewish faith.
Okay, was a part of it.
Was a part of it, right? Ecumenical in its full sense, and I believe they were inspired, per se and minute, by Luke 4 verse 18.
Spirit of the Lord.
The Spirit of the Lord is upon me to preach good news to the poor, to bring sight to the blind, to bring liberty to the oppressed, right?
And
to bring freedom to the captive.
Around in 1878.
Absolutely. So think about it. You remember 13 years before we had the Morant Bay Rebellion.
Right.
40 years before was the abolition of slavery.
Right.
And we still had made a dent in changing the economic circumstances of the people.
Okay.
And so what they found was that, learning from what was happening in Britain, because, some of these clergymen had British background,
right.
and the building societies were established there, and what it was having impact.
Yeah.
Small savers would come together, and people would borrow from that to buy their own homes. And they thought that, this idea could be tried in Jamaica. This is the liberty.
Failure or success? What do you think?
I think it's been a big success. I think it's been a huge success. Now, the truth is that could more have been done? I would say perhaps, but definitely more could have been done, because Jamaica is still
more can still be done.
More can still be done. Jamaica is still a very unequal society.
Okay.
And the inequality is rife. It's a source of huge problems here.
I was somewhat troubled last night. I know in politics, you always want the last word, to put it that way. And I was a little troubled to see our Prime Minister saying that the 35 million per unit house in Ruthven Towers, declaring it a success, seeming to applaud the NHT for putting our little bit of money that each person contributes, putting it to use in that way, because as he declared it, all parts of the market need to be served. And it came to mind when you spoke about the beginning of things for the building society, and this sense that if people come together, then the average person can own a home.
Yes.
The average person in Jamaica is still trying to own a home. And I think building society versus NHD, who's really doing what?
Well, I
It
think
sounds to me that the building society might be staying truer to purpose than even the NHD.
Well, and to be honest, we do collaborate with the
I know,
NHD.
I know,
Right?
I
So,
know.
so many of our mortgages, they are able to blend the funds,
Yes.
our funds.
Because really the NHD money can buy a good house by itself.
Precisely. So they do borrow what they can from the NHT and from
And come
us,
to the
and
building
and
societies.
that combination
Yes,
works for many.
Yeah. But
And,
can
and
I
we
tell
and we
you,
encourage. That's a joint finance mortgage program. It works for many.
in my interaction with the two, I really have found that the building societies have been more service oriented. They've been good partners. So I'm giving the building society a big tick in the box of living to purpose. What's your score? I mean, I know you said great success, but you did mention more to be done. How do you
Yeah.
see
So
that?
there's more. So what have we done over the years? So we have expanded in that business. We started with one branch in 1878. We now have 16 in Jamaica and 5 representative offices overseas, because remember, we recognized in the 80s that many Jamaicans who lived overseas planned to return home and they wanted to save here. And so, the managers
Was
at the
VM
time.
the leader in that?
We were
that-
definitely
yeah,
the leader.
because-
We're the
Well,
first.
you're the oldest.
Yep, no,
You
well,
should be the leader.
we actually, the other large mutual was established before us. Jane, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, a few years, not
yeah,
long, but we were the first to establish overseas representative offices.
Yeah.
There are many firsts
Yes,
that
yes,
VM
yes.
has done over the
All
years.
right,
So,
well, you know what?
so we went to the UK. We now have 3 offices there: Brixton,
Brixton, I know the one in
Tottenham,
Brixton.
and Birmingham. You know the one in Brixton.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes, because
Yeah.
just about when VM went there, Masla John Gordon
Yes,
She's
got
a
you.
lawyer.
Yeah, I know.
was a
And-
lawyer.
and-
Please, let's be clear
Yes,
on that.
he was a lawyer.
I've cut ties.
Studied the law.
You have hung, yeah, okay, no problem. So you have hung up your wig.
She don't may teach me about my frock. She's going to the frock
Actually-
because I'm a pastor. So you hang up your wig
You
now
know what?
every
I
day?
could actually give my frock to Pastor Percy. 'cause
Yes.
it would probably fit him. My robe is hanging in.
Yeah.
Guest number 2.
Yeah.
For son.
So and then we now have one. 11 years ago, we established one in Florida, and just a few years ago in New York. So
And it's doing well.
doing well.
You're finding.
We're using it to serve our members. So
Yeah.
so we have expanded the number of branches, but we have also introduced lots of electronic channels. So your people are now able to apply for these mortgages online, and access their accounts via internet banking, via mobile banking, via
So-
the intelligent
so the
ABMs.
technology has been incorporated into making serving your customers.
That's
Yeah,
right.
more
But
efficient.
but then we have discovered over the years that people need more than home ownership solutions. That people would want to establish and need to establish investment portfolios
Yes, yeah.
and prepare for retirement.
So your perspective on prosperity for the citizens of Jamaica or wherever they are goes wider than just having a house.
No, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So for us, we talk about financial well-being and empowering people to achieve financial well-being. And for us, that means having a financial plan. Because many of us are walking around without a plan. Right? Having a financial plan and sticking to it. That's one. Secondly, yes, owning your own home or working towards that home ownership. Thirdly, establish an investment portfolio. Right?
So in this environment, and that's a loaded question because you will have to tell me how you see this environment. What are you saying to people about an investment portfolio? Because for me, I look at the landscape and what I see are a lot of maybe single family or concentrated ownership of capital and being deployed in some ways that typically don't even benefit Jam Rock. A lot of the money goes abroad, and I don't see a great deal of opportunity build a portfolio outside of your own private, entrepreneurial endeavors. How do you see the average Jamaican moving into investment without continuing to enrich? Well, I'm going to say 21 families because that's how it was said in
Yeah, but no, that's a great question. We actually believe that there are many solutions around many offered by BMW that you talked about democracy earlier, that help to democratize access to the capital markets. So, for example,
Like the JLL model.
yeah, I mean, we're not the one to play in that. No, we're not the one to play in that market. So GMB would go on, but the truth is that the unit trust investments, for example, basically those portfolios allow you and I to start small, but to invest in stocks. As to become owners of capital ourselves, right? To invest in bonds, to invest in real estate. So many people do not realize that you can benefit from the capital appreciation in, say, commercial properties, and from the lease income generated by those properties without actually directly owning the property. By the three of us coming together in what is called a unitized investment to buy this property. And that's really what the unit trust is about. That we have pooled our funds to make these investments, whether it is property, purchasing a bond, buying some equities, right?
Okay. So what you're saying, Courtney, is that the unit trust, and I've noticed that for VM, not VM the building society, but VM investment, it has really mushroomed and grown. I know a couple of the people work there.
Right.
And you're saying it's becoming one of your greatest growth areas now for you.
Absolutely, because you can start with guess what? Guess what is the minimum to establish that unit trust account?
I hope it's $1,000.
That's a little more, $10,000. Right?
10,000.
Can you imagine? Right?
So
So you start with that and you put in whatever you can each month, right?
All right, we're gonna run an exercise.
And over time you
You
build.
know, I'm a VM customer. I just remember my first apartment, the first real estate that I bought.
Yes.
I borrowed some like $300,000 from VM.
that's
In like 1992 or something.
Very
like
good.
That
Thanks.
was a long time ago because
Thanks for the business.
Yeah, I still have my account. I'm gonna put $10,000 on a unit trust, something or other later today.
Absolutely.
We're gonna
Thanks for that.
We're gonna report back here.
Yes.
How
And your
it
experience.
performs.
Yes.
Yes.
And
because-
not only that, you should report on
Yes.
how you added to it over time.
Yes. Well.
Right?
Yeah.
And how it's been. And
Well,
how it's
less of that.
performing for
Less
you.
of that reporting, but more of
Okay.
more of how
I
it
want to
performs.
shift it a little bit.
Sure.
Yes.
We've been talking about democracy
Yeah.
and what is happening and how our leaders really have not enabled us as a society to move forward. And one of the greatest things is corruption. What say you? You are one of the leaders of industry. How much has it?
He's one of the
hampered?
princes.
One of the princes of industry. How do you see that?
Well, all right. Before I go to that, I wanted to just make another point, because this has to do with financial well-being as well, because I was going through a definition for you. Two other points I wanted to make. Financial well-being also involves preparing for retirement,
Oh, please, yes.
because too many of us in Jamaica are relying on our children or our friends, our church brothers and sisters, to look after us in retirement.
And unless your child is an NBA professional player
That's right. You could have a
or
problem.
NFL.
Right. and so our retirement plans offered through VM pensions, for example, are very important in enabling people to achieve this financial well-being.
And you can get into that at any time.
Anytime.
It's-
And in
it's-
fact,
it's-
the
yeah.
earlier the better, but it's never too late.
Clearly, but
And
yeah.
then finally, definition of financial well-being: the ability to withstand shocks,
Okay.
to be resilient. Many people, when COVID hit last year, did not have $1 in saving to turn to.
And now those who did still don't have a dollar in savings because it's all been spent up.
Precisely. Right. So,
So-
let's go to Percy Square. So that's the definition of financial well-being, and we're very committed to it. And you know, let's segue into your question.
But you've drawn me out. You can't leave me hanging.
All right.
What about the return to resilience? Because earlier in the COVID thing, that was a big burden on my heart, looking to see how corporate Jamaica was positioning itself to help citizens achieve a return to resilience.
Right.
I don't know what VM has on board, and I am a customer. Although they did send me a note saying they miss me. I hadn't looked at my account.
And we do miss you, minute. We miss you.
I'm coming back later
So,
today.
yeah,
I'm gonna do a unit trust.
So
thing.
please say to them, I
To
shall
test it.
return.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
are returning. I'm a VMS customer.
I hadn't looked at it. Oh, so let's do a unit trust thing and see what happens with it.
returns happen.
But
Okay.
the return to resilience, that has been a burden to me because what I see are increased fees, of course, reduced contact because we're social distancing like
Yes.
mad. And for this, I applaud you for coming here and being in close contact with Percy and myself. Most people are asking to see, a friend of mine said, well, we're only doing fully vaxxed and only on Sundays kind of thing. But a lot of changes are occurring where what I see is corporate Jamaica seeking more to stabilize and assure its own survival. Not that readiness to open up and create avenues for the customers that they're going to need to also rebound. I won't make it personal, but you get the gist of it.
Well, and I do, but I think there are some institutions, and VM is among those, that we actually did more business in 2020 than we did than before. In other words,
Wow.
we put more people into their own homes and giving more people access to investment solutions and selling more retirement plans in 2020 and 2021 than we did before, right? So we have, because we're purpose driven, we then had to take time out to understand what are the real needs of our people
At this
at this time.
Okay.
And so we, of course, took steps to protect them,
Yeah.
to ensure that, all the visitors to our branches, our offices were
safe.
Were safe.
Yeah.
So the sanitization was there and so on. But and the physical distancing, and unfortunately some had to wait a little longer outside our offices if they had to turn up there. But we also ensured that our new electronic channels were working very well.
Right,
And
so
we had excellent migration statistics there. So we're very pleased with how our members and clients have been using these channels. We have put new channels in place, for example, in wealth management and pensions and so on. And just before COVID, we had launched our mobile app, which has turned out to be a winner for us. So we have done all of those initiatives to ensure that our members and clients are better served. But on top of that, as I said, the actual financial solutions, we have sold more last year than before, and more in 2021 than we did in 2020. So we keep establishing new records. And it's because of our commitment to serve and to
serving
ensure
the actual needs.
the
not-
actual needs of the people. Right.
All right. I'm getting the signal to take a break.
Sure.
Save your answer for Percy's
chat.
question until we return. This is the Morning Connection. Our guest is Mr. Courtney Campbell. We'll be right
CEO of
back.
VMS Group. Welcome back. Welcome back. And we've been having interesting conversations and dialogue with Courtney Campbell, CEO of the VMBS Group, and guest
Oh, VM Group? Do
VM
they keep the
Group, VM
BS anymore?
VM Group, because they've recently rebranded.
They've cut out the BS.
Yeah. But we discovered something very interesting in the break. Our next guest, John Andre Lawrence, was talking about, hold on, he just did the ad for you in terms
The
of
music.
the music for the ad for you, which is on radio.
Transform your everyday.
Transform your everyday. So it is really a revelation, but I'm seeing God making the timing right in terms of what has happened. But when we went to the break, Courtney, we were talking about corruption and its impact on what's happening in our country. We simply say on this program, we need a new covenant between the government and the people. A covenant that speaks to love, honor, respect. That speaks to personal empowerment, greater involvement of the persons on the ground, and just beginning to take action. We're waiting for government to do a lot of stuff, but we are saying, but what's your take on corruption? It takes about 5% of our GDP, they say.
Yeah, well, and I don't know the figures on that, but that's an estimate from Transparency International.
Right.
What I think, who I'd prefer to put this, Percy and Minute, is that Jamaica needs a different type of leadership, and not only speaking about
Political, I know.
not speaking about political leadership in the business sector, in civil society, in
Across the board.
across the board, wherever we are, we just need a different type of leadership. Because as John Maxwell says, everything rises and falls on leadership, right? So we need, and when you think about Jamaica, we're so talented.
Yep.
Our people are so
That's a
talented.
blessing and a curse, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're too blessed with gifts of nature and the creative and energetic people to be so poor, so divided, and for life to be so painful for many, and
Too many.
for too many. So I think for this next period, we need, I think, all of us, if we find ourselves in a position of leadership, church, school, hospital, running a business, you know, on the radio station, maybe in political leadership, that we need to move up to the next level in terms of vision, right?
Yes.
Being very clear about why you're called to this particular leadership role
Or
at
platform,
this time,
whatever
right?
platform you're standing
You
on.
know, what are the new possibilities? What are the opportunities that you should be leading your people to grasp, to take advantage of? I think we need to be more inclusive, and this is a democracy that you were speaking of earlier.
Yeah.
Because what we need to recognize that in this time of volatility and uncertainty, that, you know, a small set of people thinking about solutions and acting to solve the problems will not be sufficient.
Right.
What we need to do
Talk
is
about consensus.
absolutely, we need to build consensus. We need to
With the widest group.
we need to go with a
because-
wider, more diverse group of people who can help us to think through the solutions that we need to have in place, and also help us to execute.
Precisely, because a lot of the failure takes place in the execution. If you go on any government website, or if you go to, or any corporate website, you see a clear statement of vision and
Yes.
purpose, and if you look for the policies, and the policies they all tend to be true to, let's say, international best standards.
Absolutely.
And so you get the understanding that there are competent, knowledgeable persons who are doing and saying the right things. When it breaks down in the execution, I am left thinking that there is an issue of integrity. I think in the break, Pastor said corruption, and you and I were using integrity as the focal point, because it is the character of the individual. Or here, I talk a lot about the spirit of the law, and it is what stands behind the actual word which makes the difference. And we seem to be failing in that respect, which really is a matter of integrity. Lack of it is
And I have a
manifested
simple
as corrupt
definition for-
thinking. And
But
Yeah.
for integrity, what you say is what you do. That's just it. If you say you're going to do, that's what you
Yes,
end up
yes.
doing.
Are doing what you're supposed to without doing.
right, because,
Wh-
because
wh-
if I say I'm gonna kill a man and I kill him,
No, no.
I do have integrity, but have I done the right thing?
The intention that what you're doing is right. So if you
Yeah.
say
and doing the right thing when
Yeah.
when no one is watching.
right,
Because for me,
Yeah.
it is that coincidence of the private self and the public self, where you stand as one, which is kind of like the literal meaning of
Absolutely.
integrity. You
Yes,
you
that's
stand
right.
as one. We now are talking about the values, that the one which you stand for is now something noble and positive and beneficial to the masses. How are you seeing us make that kind of that transformation? Because you talk about the abundance of talent. We see more evidence of the abundance of talent in how well we run the gangs or how well we
Right.
carry out some activities that don't bring a positive result. In your own organization, how are you putting heart and spirit behind the
great,
excellent planning?
great point. So what I think what I think we have done well at VM is to ensure that all our people understand the purpose
Okay.
and see themselves in it.
As a part
And
of
see
it.
themselves and own it, right? So, what we have done, we have spent a lot of time developing core values and ensuring that all our people understand what we mean by these core. So we define them. We don't just say that we're member focused or our core value is integrity or teamwork, innovation or excellence without defining
Breaking
what
it
it
down.
What it
means to
is.
each of us.
Make it practical.
And we actually measure ourselves by that, to the extent to which not only have we delivered on some business goals, but have we lived by our core values.
Okay.
And we assess each other
Okay.
every 6 months.
Peer review.
Peer
Yeah,
review, yes,
yeah,
yes, yes.
on whether we are displaying the desired behaviors,
Okay.
these desired behaviors which are really aligned to the core values. But beyond that, we have a really powerful culture program. Right?
So this is
Culture.
a nice segue into John Andre's interview.
Yeah, we have a culture program that so we have 7 cultural beliefs. And as you know, culture is about how you think, how you behave, how you make decisions.
Self-expression.
Right? And we hold each other accountable for those. And whenever we see someone displaying these cultural beliefs, we
Oh, you reward it. You acknowledge.
we acknowledge it,
And
we promote it,
Yeah.
Okay.
we recognize it, right? To say that everyone else, this is what we mean
This
by
is the
being
standard.
this is what we mean by being customer obsessed.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is
This
the
is what we
standard.
mean by collaboration. We call that one together we're winner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? This is what we mean by executing well. We call that VMXL.
Okay.
Right?
So let me
Yeah.
ask you specific questions
Yes.
now. Does every VM staff member own a home?
Not at this point, but
How do you
But we-
handle that?
but
Because
we-
I'm sure you're making sure.
yeah,
that
that's
they-
right.
they
Not
do.
at this point, but I mean, we have increased significantly the percentage of VM staff members who own their own homes. What we have done is to establish the very best mortgage package for staff
Yeah.
in the
So
in
do
the in
do
in
you
the
have any
in,
openings
in the industry.
for staff? Are you employing?
Well, for bright people like you.
You'll make something.
Yeah, definitely. So right. So we did our research because we're very committed to the financial independence of our team
Okay.
members.
Yeah,
Right.
I tell you, I would have ended the interview if you didn't have that kind of response. Really, because you have to live. You have to live.
We have to live it.
Well,
You have to live
You have
it.
to live
You
it.
Yeah,
have to
have to
live
live
it.
it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it gives us great
Yeah.
pleasure to see our young people, turning their own keys, right?
Okay.
As
That's your staff member.
our staff members,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and then they then understand the process and they can guide our members and clients accordingly.
Absolutely.
Right?
Okay.
I don't believe. Percy, please don't have another question because
I'm
that's
not
the
having a-
perfect
you-
close.
you-
It is. Let me
Talk to us about reverse.
All right. So
let me lay a foundation,
Yeah.
please, because I don't want you to answer in a vacuum. So we have listeners who are at an age when financial planning for the over 60s, big deal. And we also have, unmarried elderly women who would like to leverage the equity in their homes and to be able to do something. You talked about financial planning. So the curiosity about it is making it accessible, guiding persons through it, and really having a heart for the financial well-being of those in a particular age group.
yeah. So and we do. So we don't currently offer reverse mortgages. It has been raised before, but when we have done the analysis and found that because of our conditions here in Jamaica, interest rates and so on, that it actually would not work out favorably for those customers.
Instead, what do you
So
do?
instead, what we're promoting is we're encouraging these retirees to take advantage of our investment solutions, right? So if you have a little nest egg, little lump sum, we guide you on how best to generate some good returns, because the same principle. To generate some returns on it, so that you would probably be able to pull your interest off quarterly or monthly.
So
Yeah.
specifically now, could I take out a loan against the equity in my home, invest it with you, you pay yourself and put aside money for me.
The interest differential probably wouldn't work like that.
So what would be comparable? Because
so-
what these persons are aiming to do,
Yes.
you own a home, it's $16 million. Your equity in it is $16 million. It is, unencumbered. You want to be able to have some kind of annuity. It's like
Right.
purchasing
Yes,
an
I
annuity
understand.
late in
I understand.
life.
Mhm.
Could that be done? How could that be done? Because this is what persons are looking
All right,
for.
so that solution wouldn't work well because if you think about it, the interest rate that you would pay us on that mortgage is likely to be higher than what you would earn on the investment. So
And that is what you call the conditions in Jamaica.
right.
All right, so
Yeah.
we're back to it. I know there shouldn't be another question because now we're
me, are you?
no, well, the producer rule.
No, so
But you
if-
know
if-
why I
if-
say that?
if-
Because initially when we were speaking and you talked about building a portfolio, an investment portfolio,
Right.
and I did my own characterization of the investment scene in Jamaica. That's where I was, where you would pay more to even borrow money, take out a mortgage, than you would earn on a portfolio of stocks and bonds, unless you were doing some real high risk things like overnight lending to people who may disappear the next day.
That's correct. Yeah, that's
So,
correct. And I think at that age, you
yeah.
don't want to be taking
You
too
can't take
much
that.
risk.
That is a
Right.
sure way to die early.
Right.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. When you're in retirement, remember the rule of thumb is that as you get older, the portion of your portfolio that you're exposed to high risk should be less, right? So, which is the reason why you should really go with safer instruments, but with a risk return trade-off. The safer instruments will actually will also have lower
risk,
yield,
lower yield.
right?
Yeah.
So the real solution to that, unfortunately, it's not a good solution for those who are already in retirement. The real solution, if you're working towards retirement, is to start to build your investment portfolio. Start small, save what you can now.
But that's you're talking to John Andre.
Yeah, no, not only that.
Who is poised to
30,
make
40
millions
years
in
down the
music,
line.
so he's not thinking that he'll ever be 65 and not have enough.
But he wouldn't. I'm glad you
Of
raised
course,
that.
he's gonna be coming to
I'm
VMBS.
glad you raised that
VM.
because the John Andres of this world should start to invest for the long term from now. And he should speak with us about, for example, our approved retirement scheme. You are allowed to, whatever your income is, you're allowed to invest up to 20% of that. And it's tax-free saving.
And I'm sure you're doing something in hard currency because other callers are complaining that when they do get the pension or the annuity, whatever it is, depreciation has knocked the life out of it. And they are now looking for reverse mortgages. Man can say.
That's right. Well, but
anyway.
if not strictly a pension plan, there are
Yeah.
other investments that are in hard currency. So we
Well-
encourage people to take advantage of that. But to close on your point about the integrity in public life, the other thing that we need to encourage all of us is just principled leadership, because I think we want to say that regardless of what leadership position we find ourselves in, let's promote good governance, let's promote transparency, let's promote inclusion,
Yeah.
to have as many people involved in the process as possible, and let's commit to strengthen our key institutions.
Okay.
Key government institutions and key private sector
Private sector
institutions.
institutions.
Let's commit to improving how they work, and benchmark against world-class standards
Yeah. Or
And-
for us, kingdom standards.
and
What we
kingdom
do.
standards, right?
Yeah. When you said institutions,
right.
at first I wasn't thinking literal government
Right.
agencies and so on. I was thinking like institutions like democracy and marriage and partnerships, and
Yes.
I was thinking a
Those
little
are
more.
part of it. To
yeah,
my mind, those
yeah,
are
because
part of it. But the key ones like
yeah.
the justice system, what's happening with the police, nurses, that kind of
Three ethics that we need to observe in all of those when I speak about strengthening: holiness, justice, and love.
Well, we said the kingdom is built upon
Yeah.
Psalms 89.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Righteousness,
Yeah.
justice.
mercy.
Yeah,
Right.
we didn't include holiness because we didn't want people to recognize that we fall short.
I know, but that's right. But you should try to.
But it's
I say, listen to me, let that person
are-
talking
are-
about
are-
holiness.
Or it's a righteousness, then. But the
Yeah.
issue is that let's do what is right for everyone,
Yeah.
As best we can.
As
Yeah.
best we can.
Yeah.
Let's promote justice and let's recognize the humanity in others. And then let's show love in practical ways. Love is an action word.
All right. What love are you leaving with us this morning?
The love I would leave with you is to encourage you, right?
Loving encouragement.
The best thing I can say to you is to reignite, right, your VM relationship. Right?
That's gonna cost you.
So we can show you some love.
I will be reigniting.
Courtney, thanks for stopping
Yeah,
by.
thank you.
I call this the dialogue instruction. Just talking.
Yeah.
Dialogue.
It's a conversation. And it's been a wonderful conversation.
Absolutely.
For me,
I've enjoyed it.
certainly.
Thanks
You've
very
been
much for
very
having me.
charming,
Yeah.
and we really appreciate your coming to do a face-to-face with us. I hope it's not the last time. We're here every Thursday, so if
Good.
you want to have breakfast and pass by,
Nice.
you will be the most welcome person at our table.
Thank you so much, Minette. Thank you,
been a
thank you,
pleasure.
Percy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
And have a
All
wonderful
right.
day.
Yes,
And
thank
I'm
you.
glad, I'm glad I met.
John Andre.
John Andre.
Yes.
Very good.
And as they say in some places, the king is dead. Long live the king.
So John Andre, probably you could sing the
Andre
transform your everyday song for the. I know you produce it, but play it for them. Transform your everyday.
We'll find a way to let him play it, but singing, I can tell you,
doesn't do
he
that
wants
well.
to keep his fans.
All right.
All right, we're going to
Thank
take
you.
a
Bless
break
you.
now. All right, thank you. This is the Morning Connection. Stay with us. Good morning and welcome back to the Morning Connection. This is your host, Minette Lawrence. We're live at the Ligani Club, courtesy of JD's Urban Pub, the Ligani Club, and Carmen's Collection Furnitureland. Those are the companies, the friends who have made it possible for us to be here in this
Getting more
wonderful
friends, right?
location.
Getting
Yes,
more
and we're making new friends. Of course, Pastor Percy is an old friend, co-presenter right here. And we have another guest at the table with us. Pastor, you
John
want to
Andre.
introduce my guest?
Yes. Good morning, John Andre
Yes.
Lawrence, who is an international producer. Because he's gone international in
Yes,
terms
yes,
of what
yes,
the work that you have done
Sorry, my bad.
for Dre.
Drake, yeah.
Drake and my children said, Daddy, listen to Drake music. And it's kind of reasonable. I can listen to him and the ears don't hurt me and I can appreciate what he's saying. But
Yeah.
even closer to home, we discovered in the break, as we had said, that John and Andre have done some work for the VM group. And you actually
Yes.
produced the music for their
Yes.
new ad.
Yes.
How you doing, my friend?
I'm okay. I mean, I'm glad to be here. Glad to be speaking with you guys. You know, I'm open to any conversation that we will enter in. Yes, recently I was involved in Drake's album. He sampled a song I produced for his first intro to the album. And also, yes, VM. Someone reached out to me to basically do the VM branding music campaign.
So they chose you. They never said
Right.
something. They just
No, like they contacted me and just like, yo, we want you guys to, me and Chris Malachi, the writer of the jingles and the content, they wanted us to
Yes,
produce
yeah.
it from scratch.
wow.
Yeah,
But you
like
know, you know,
everything.
other life, you know. You went to Arden High School, and my
Oh, yeah.
son, yes, my son, is in his final year.
You have to
So
call your
have
son's
crossed
name,
Matthew
'cause-
Palmer.
Matthew Palmer.
Yeah, Matthew Palmer.
Maybe if I
When
see
you,
him.
when you left Arden,
I left Arden 2014.
okay, so
Yeah.
you would have been.
So he was a junior or
While
a
he's
senior?
there,
He's a
junior.
Oh, Percy,
I
this
possibly
senior
gonna
man
see
don't
it.
look up.
Excuse me.
Juniors look up.
You look down, but if you're a good senior, look down. They never know what's
Yeah,
coming.
yeah, that's true. That's
Right,
true.
right,
That's
right.
true too.
So, how did your? I know Arden has a very strong music. You have one all together sing. I think on 2 occasions.
Yes, Arden has one
You were a
altogether
part of
singing.
that?
I was not.
You are not a part, but what prompted you to
Get
go
into music.
Into music that way.
All right, so it's an interesting story. It's actually through a friend of mine. So I was in a class and a friend came to me and played like a beat he made. You know, for some reason he called it Arden Rat Rhythm.
Arden Rat Rhythm, yeah.
Is it still around?
I don't have it. I don't know where it is, but it was the first thing that I heard, and it inspired me to go home and download this software called FL Studio.
Yes.
So I had actually learned about that software through my sister, Shante, prior, but I didn't really delve into it much because I was young. I couldn't understand to work it, but this time just like once I heard a student my age make a beat, it's just like whoa.
I could
Because
do
I'm an
that
artist.
too.
I love art. So the next thing for me to do was to go home, download the software, and then just try little by little to understand it and work with it. And I had a friend that was with me at the time that heard the beat too, and he started making music at the same time as me. So
What's he doing now?
he is in
Still in
accounting.
music?
He's generous,
Accounting.
but he generous.
Generous,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's actually still active in music, but he actually is, I guess, at balancing the two.
Mm-hmm.
So out of most of us, I think, funny enough, the person that played the rhythm for me initially, that said he built that rhythm. He didn't build the rhythm.
Oh.
There was our next person that made the rhythm. So that next person named Chris
Yeah.
is a colleague of mine throughout high school that we just kind of bounced ideas off each
Mhm.
other.
And he's still in the.
He is very much like
Yeah.
independently a producer.
right.
Okay.
And I just as much am an independent producer as well.
Mm-hmm.
Two of the other persons that I went to school with that were doing music, they the music, but they also work at 9 to 5 too. But
Mhm.
there's everyone's still kind of involved.
Okay.
You know?
So because you're still so young, and yes, he is under 30 and he is single. Still single?
Yes.
You
Why
know,
you
your
put that
parents
in a-
need to
why-
know
why
first.
throw that in a
Same
the mix?
reason why you talk about Courtney, married and stable.
You look sweet as for your son at that happen. Tell her say no such work them days, John Andrew.
This one I'm prepared to. He's at an age where he could partner up.
Hello, before
But-
John Andrew goes on, you are not like the fathers who, when the boys go home with the girls, he says, I have a cutlass here. Right?
Oh,
You
no,
don't
no,
do
no,
like
no.
that.
There's no shotgun or cutlass for this young man.
All right, we can understand. Okay.
But because you're still reasonably young, you can remember the level of encouragement. Were you encouraged? And no, don't look at your father when you answer this. Did you find that you got the necessary encouragement in pursuing the artistic side of your endeavors? Because you were in high school, and a lot of times in high schools, parents are very focused on the raw academic,
Yeah.
you know, the more scholastic endeavors, not the artistic ones.
I mean,
A little bit
I'm
about that.
I'm thankful for how supportive everyone in my family has been. I've gotten completely no pushback as to doing music. I mean, obviously, I was encouraged to have a balance. So
Okay.
encouraged to go to college, complete college, complete every academic endeavor that I entered in, just to
So you
follow
went to
through.
Edna.
No, actually went to UTech, you know.
How you did?
I did bachelor's in communication, arts and technology.
Oh, so it kind of line up in where you are now.
Kind of line up in the creative aspect,
Okay.
but like not the music aspect per se.
Okay.
But I am a multifaceted person, so I like graphic design and illustration.
Okay.
and that
Oh
kind of
gosh,
thing.
if you see his artwork, you would tell him to stop messing about with music. You would
Well,
say,
so-
stop
so
wasting your time
so
with
you're
Drake and the
multifaceted
people.
Yeah, in terms of you did that, you did the music.
Right.
So,
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm first and foremost before anything an artist.
okay.
You know, in the widest sense of the term. Like, I
Tell
just
me
love
how you
art.
define it. In
In the sense that I like expressing myself through various medium.
Okay.
Right.
Mhm.
So like my first medium was drawing.
Right.
From a very young age, I could just draw. I love to draw. I spent lots of time drawing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was somewhat a bit. I was impressive for my age.
Yeah,
You
man.
know, and then I went into photography.
Okay.
yes, I remember that
right.
season.
And I dove into that and spent a whole time researching cameras and really trying my best to not master the craft, but get as close to mastery
As you-
as a time period.
What
And
drew you? Because I know you were equally technical and the composition of things. What
Yeah.
was it that kept teasing your mind? You know, what were you trying to pull out of the environment around you?
with photography.
Anything,
Just
any
anything.
of your artistic.
I think it's just being a kid that kind of is introverted, and you know I
Own expression that way.
yes, exactly. So I don't necessarily
You have a whole heap of friends, but the friends that you have close. But if you
Mhm.
go into a room,
Right.
you're not the one who's gonna reach out and say, "Hi, I'm so and so." You have
I
some
mean,
people-
yes, initially that was me. I mean, I'm learning now to kind of balance things out and be more social.
okay.
But in the interim
The early
period,
years.
early years, I really just had my expression through my art.
Okay.
You know, I didn't have much friends. I
Mhm.
mean, I have pretty good friends still, but it's just like art to me was just like me kind of I don't know, putting something out there in the world and taking my experiences and what makes me feel good
Okay.
and just translating it back.
Have you had an exhibition as yet?
I have actually been featured in an exhibition. One exhibition in particular, it was the Kingston on the Edge exhibition.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember
Right.
taking you somewhere and they
Right.
recognized you. So I
Exactly.
know him. He was at when Cafe Blue, is it? What is not Cafe Blue?
Where it was, it was at Red Bones.
Red Bones Cafe.
Red Bones Cafe. I had because the kind of illustration I do is hyper realistic drawings.
Yes.
So I just take a picture and I just draw it as detailed as possible. you
Okay.
know. And
Almost a three-dimensional drawing.
almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand what
But
you
it
said.
does look just like, I mean, he's done a portrait of his dad and he's done, you can find them online, Etana,
You did
Dennis Brown.
Dennis
to Etana.
Brown. Yes,
Dennis-
yeah,
Mhm.
so you could, it's
That
easy to
means you're
find
ready to have a
JLL.
full a full
Yeah.
exhibition.
Yeah.
John Andre,
Yeah, like exhibition, John Andre, JLL. I mean, but the thing is, it's an interesting thing with art and me. I think what kind of slowed down the illustration for me is the commercial aspect of it,
yeah.
because
You need a
that's
manager.
when, yeah, because now people are requesting certain things.
And they
There's
want it
deadlines.
they have
Right,
deadlines.
Exactly,
Yes.
and they have nowhere near the money that is required for me to spend the energy that they want.
Okay, so now that
So
sense.
yeah, so then it kind of from a
Yeah.
start getting commissions, I just kind of slowed down.
So this is a nice segue into how you make art into a living, into an economic activity. Let me paint a picture for you. We've talked about
Industries.
cultural expression and artistic endeavors as being one of the engines behind self-identity and development, meaning development of a nation. The same creativity that drives an architect to design a big building is what causes you to do, a portrait.
Right.
How we encourage it, how we nurture it, how we harness it, and then how we make economic sense of it is a big deal. How have you made that transition from art student into working artist, if there's such a thing?
Well, it was an interesting transition because I never really knew how to make money by myself, for myself, but I also didn't want to be in a 9 to 5 for the rest of my life. So I was in a work position for a while. I mean, I had the same hurdles with music in the sense where I know people were selling beats and they were doing different things to make money in music, but as far as I knew, like it just seemed very hard.
Get to that point.
To get to our point, because the story was always just that in Jamaica, the way how money run is not how money run up in the States. So like there's labels here that can pay you advances that can really like match what a producer is worth.
So
But
that's one change that we should be looking to have here.
for sure. But
Yeah.
what had happened eventually, I had kept working with the virgins that I
Your
had at
schoolmates.
School days.
Right, and Chris KRS, who was one of the virgins that actually got some success, started to pitch things for me, and songs started going out, and then he started getting bigger links. He started flying out, so he ended up getting me my first, I think, job with a label that I got paid label money.
You got paid label,
Label
you got
money.
paid
What was
in
that
US
Yes,
job?
dollars.
$us.
Yeah.
Yes, man.
What was that job? Do you remember it?
That job was a song. It was a song by Cranium. It was a love song. It's one of Cranium's like sweetest,
Who's
nicest
Cranium?
song. He's a dancehall artist.
Yeah, but
and I
I'm
mean,
Cranium, sorry, baby. I know about Cranium. I don't understand you.
yeah, like Cranium's a dancehall
John
artist.
Andre never teach me about Cranium.
You never teach about Cranium.
No.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but is song name again?
Isn't it weird that that's such a significant thing? I struggle
No,
to remember
no
the song.
other.
Yeah,
No,
that's all
the
right,
song
yeah.
name.
All right, let's bring it forward.
No other. And then I think it was 2018 when that year of music is when I started to work with Chronics.
Yes.
I made a remix, and then I started to get more connections with people who had access to the labels and the companies that actually had the
So
capital.
which remix you did with Chronics?
I did,
I can.
Yes, I can.
I can. I
did
loved
remix
it.
for Chronics?
Right,
Yeah, I
an
love
unofficial
it.
remix for I Can.
So
Okay.
what we're gonna play from John Andre's body of work? Oh, his father gone. The producer
Yeah, you
gone.
can put that on the list.
Yeah,
I can.
I love that remix.
Right, and I
Yeah.
met I like what started to happen is that I started to see the value of my music and started to see that okay, well, if a label can just throw away a couple thousand into me just as a producer, then I mean there must be a value to this. So it changed my whole perspective. Oh, I don't have to just shadow produce for other producers
Yes,
to try and get
go
it
into the
and
market.
just go into the market. So
So,
eventually,
I have to make a comment here because what you say about recognizing the value of your work, why we recognize art as a part of that process of identity and self-worth, to know that the product of your imagination has intrinsic value
yeah,
because it comes from you and it is you that is giving it that value.
And
It's
that's
an
interesting.
important step in development.
But it,
So I just want to record that
For
as
sure.
one of the
Value of
high
the
points
music.
of this conversation with you.
I-
That appreciation of value.
yeah, but John Andre, people have said it is our creative industries that's going to drive our progress or prosperity as a nation. What do you think about that? Just following up that statement.
that's
that
a
you just
great
made.
question. I was having a conversation with my brethren the other day, just talking about government, and I do believe as a country we're losing faith and patience in our government, and it's becoming an open joke
Yes.
in
It's
this
an
in
open
many
joke.
many
They talk
senses.
about it,
Yeah,
but not
yeah, yeah.
action.
Yeah.
Right, and I think for a large part, out of us are being treated seriously as a people, and the creative industries is really Jamaica's biggest resource right now. Like we've almost sold away a lot of our physical, natural resources.
Or reduced it to its
Right.
insignificant quantities.
Right, and I do think that creativity is something that
It's
more people are
boundless.
getting into. Everyone is getting creative, and it's an open playing field. Like no one, there's not to say that there's only a limited amount of artists that should be artists, or a limited amount of people that should make videos. Everyone should have the capability to do
And the
that.
world is your market.
Right, exactly.
Especially now with technology allowing you to get to the world
Yeah.
without having to jump on a plane.
Right.
And I was speaking endlessly to someone yesterday about NFTs, non-fungible tokens, which is just an invisible way of,
Exactly.
of transferring the value from your physical artwork into something digital that can
Right.
traverse the world without boundaries.
And
So you're absolutely right. The World Bank in their assessment, they
we
talk
spoke
about it
about
all the
that.
time, and I have to get back to it. Their report says that people, that is your current greatest capital asset. And you, young Mr. Lawrence, you are endorsing that by expressing your opinion that the creative industry holds the greatest capacity for wealth right now because everybody can be a producer of
Yes.
something creative.
Yes.
And you can express it in whatever you are doing. There's
Right.
no limit to where you can put it.
Yes, because I had a conversation with the idea of a state-funded label that Jamaica can have, where Jamaica,
State-funded label, yeah.
they fund their own label through basically having
Like the Lotto,
yeah.
the Lotto
They
fund
call it like
sport.
Jamrock
But that
Studios or
means
something.
that what could really happen with the Chase Fund is they could get money from the Chase funds that come from Lotto to do a state-funded
Well,
label.
the two of you lost me because anytime, and it's because of the open joke point that John
that
Andre
don't know,
made.
but what he said.
Anytime, in a perfect world, brilliant.
Yes.
But right now, before Jamaica could do one more state-funded thing,
No.
we'd have to clean house.
No,
So
but
I
no.
just got lost in,
No,
in
I'm not
my
saying lost,
reflection
but
on
I'm
that.
saying-
But it's a great idea.
Yeah,
It's
but
a
what I
great
was
idea.
saying, Minute, is that the Chase Fund.
No, man, I heard you. The mechanism to do it is there.
So
But it's
and
going to fall
when-
prey to the same vulnerabilities and weaknesses that
And it
that
was-
afflict every government
Right. And it's
thing
good
that
you
we
say
put
that
in
because
place.
the Virgin I was speaking to is actually Ayatash I was speaking
Yes.
to. And he also shares some of the same concerns. I mean, I don't necessarily have much faith to say that they will take it seriously, but I do
Or
mean...
pitching it.
Yeah, it's more pitching
We have a
and
Ministry
putting
of
it out
Culture
there.
and Gender and Youth and so on.
Yeah.
And that's like a natural thing for you to put into policy. And its day will come.
Mm-hmm.
And can I tell you something? It doesn't have to be state funded. It can come right out
It
of the
can set
private
up a
sector
non-profit today,
from
so.
very well-intentioned persons who can do a not-for-profit. That's what it does. And all you do is just replenish it. As people do well, they replenish it.
Right.
Replenishing
but
it and encouragement
yeah.
because what I hear you saying is if you have a state-funded label or a non-profit, it is facilitating. It is like a conduit.
Right.
Yeah.
For all the creatives.
Right.
An
Exactly.
incubator.
An
Yeah.
incubator, like you have a
Right,
business
because I mean,
incubator.
even
Yeah.
when presenting that idea in the whole fleshed out sense of it, with the state funded aspect, I don't necessarily think it needs to, as I said, Minute, to be fully state funded. But then I do think there definitely needs to be a class action to encourage the youth and the people who are coming from inner cities and places that they don't have much resources
To do that.
to really
I think that's something like that can
afford.
change now, that label. Yeah.
and like and Alpha Boys, there's establishment that actually help youth like engage a creative side of themselves. But while a school is good to teach them the musicality of it, I mean, why don't you just have the provisions by whoever to really allow someone to record a song properly,
Yeah.
to produce it properly, or to have the means to go to a studio that is not gonna charge them a lot. Or,
Right, yeah.
you know?
You want the administration and the facilities that stand behind it, you know?
But that's good. That's an
Yeah.
excellent idea. It's something that we could pursue in terms
So-
of what we're seeking to do
Yeah.
as persons on this program. If we say, okay, have a studio where you're going to pay minimal, but you are.
We
engaged
spoke with
creative.
someone yesterday who was speaking to us about a facility that he has now built at his home that would accommodate that and where to go and look at it.
Creative.
Yeah, so I would love to see how that could play out, you know, to just create opportunities for persons who have the interest, have the talent, and just kind of need the support.
Yeah.
I want to kind of draw you now into some more modern talk.
Modern talk.
Yes.
But I don't like her. You know. I don't like her.
Barbados
I thought,
has just-
I thought we were on modern talk.
Right.
She's saying it's like the antiquity. When she's good at, so leave it alone. All right. Go ahead.
all things are relative. The young man is under 30. So modern for him is what happened yesterday. So Rihanna
Yes,
is now a national hero.
she is.
Your thoughts?
No, I have a specific question. How do you see that affecting? How do you see that affecting her creativity or the perception of her, or do you see it as having
It's-
any kind of impact?
It's very interesting because Rihanna is a very controversial person. She has really spanned a lot of topics, a lot of she's been touted as being everything in the spectrum. I love Rihanna. I think she's cool. But I can't deny that her culture, where she's coming from, because though she's from Barbados, she spent a lot of her time in America and went through the American system, went through the American labels, and basically was made to be a star in a sense, you know.
Yes.
And
yeah.
I think she also played a
Yeah,
huge part
yeah,
in
not-
being that star too.
But
You know,
I
but
understand.
people have said in the industry that if you have the money behind you, even if you don't have talent, you can become a star. Is that
And
true?
she has
No,
talent.
She has talent.
And
So
she has talent.
Even when
So
I say
she's-
that, in the sense
that's
where
doubly
right,
assured.
she was taken up by a label, and they basically
Promoted and
boosted her.
polished.
Because remember,
and
she's a
yes.
Caribbean girl, you know. Like
Yeah.
she's genuinely a Caribbean girl, just like a Jamaican girl
Like
who
Etana.
them take and they put money in and they say, hey, this is what we want to make you.
Yes.
And now we're seeing that she's controlling her own destiny. She has her own line. She's not even putting
She's
out
not
music
label now.
anymore.
She's not doing music anymore.
I mean,
Hardly.
she is,
At
but
her
just like, it's,
discretion.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think
So she
she's-
deserves being a hero.
Right, she's been very accomplished, and I think even though things have been controversial, and you can comment as to what her values are, at the end of the day, she's been very helpful to the country.
To her country.
She's been very what's the word? I think she's just been
So
very,
don't you think they've kind of unsexied her? I've created a word.
but I mean,
But you know what I mean.
they can't, because she's responsible for that. So
How many sexy heroes do you know?
Because Rihanna, she dressed how she dressed. Because even when she was there, people were commenting on how she dressed. You know, like.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of what I mean.
What
How
did she dress? She had on a nice orange.
She had a nice orange, but she wasn't wearing like a bra. So what that means is just that it was a bit provocative for some people.
you know what? I understand your response because my first thought was, who's lining up to see the national hero sing a hot song? I mean, the national hero.
So yesterday,
So
when
it
I
reminded
mentioned
me.
it,
I
and
know.
you
I
had
was
the-
trying to pull
the-
him
the-
out,
no,
and he
the-
wouldn't take the bait.
Well,
Because
better you say it than
I
me.
could
Yeah.
I could see his reservations, but he wasn't. It was
Yeah.
like a national hero, Rihanna. I'm
Because
not
that's
seeing
the
it.
thing. It's
But he wouldn't tell me
important.
why.
So quickly I
Right
would
now,
say.
time for a break. Okay.
So
Yeah.
quickly, I would say it's changing the precedent as to who deserves a recognition and a
And I
position in
love that. I love
Right.
that.
That's
All
what I
right, so
think.
we're gonna take our break now. 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
We're having our conversation with JLL Productions.
JL production.
JLL, please. It's Lowell. It's John Andre Lowell Lawrence.
Yes.
We're on break. We're
Stop lifting up the mouse side in a t-shirt or jacket and tie. Any distraction get cancelled and all bad mind going and stand by. Some people not understand, so let me take the time to tell you why. When we step in at the battlefield, we never backing down, doing the things for real until kingdom come. Remember, say Malachi. But they a get send me need them a try send for me, but say them want crucify. And if I get send me need only 2 words of truth for the devil confused tonight. No God send me need where you pose like Christ and I try to elusify our minds. God send me need someone not drop a knee when me walk in a Lucy time and by Lucy. Me Lucifer, cause him will come in at the farm of the hottest girl. And any guy where I try compromise, just looking at them guy and say Lucifer. Get deep behind and get deep below. You make the youths are cool like tree below. Trample the beast and take him for pet. Conquer him head like we are do my check like testing 1 and 2.
Welcome back to the Morning Connection. It's a family morning today for us because in the house we have young John Andre Lawrence. This is the
Yes.
producer's firstborn son. I say firstborn son meaning literally firstborn son. The firstborn child is actually big sister Shantae, who is a very talented person herself. The truth is all of the producers' children have super talent, very artistic, all of
Shantae
them.
does music.
Boy
Has
Shantae,
touched everything, man.
yeah.
She touch everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
man,
she's a
she's-
freelance digital. She's a freelance digital. Sorry, she's a freelance digital. I think consultant.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. She's the what is it, digital queen something.
Yeah,
Can find her.
Digital
Yes,
queen.
and then she married into musical talent too because
Right.
her husband is DJ Power,
DJing, yeah.
who is a powerhouse in music himself. But of course, for us, none like John Andre, who across the whole spectrum, drawing, photography, music, and just a very soulful. I tell him all the time, so he knows how I feel about him. He's a pure soul, and I can understand. I saw you as you were growing up, interpreting and reinterpreting the world through his art. And music did capture him, and we're grateful for it. We're enriched by it.
To his exhibition.
I wanted to do one here at Ligani Club, and at any time we wanted to, because John Andre works primarily with emerging artists. Chris Malachi, tell us a little bit about Chris Malachi.
Chris Malachi, me and him met while I was at UTech.
Yeah.
So it's a funny story about Chris. He had actually reached out to me on Twitter via DMs because he heard one of my beats on SoundCloud. And that's when I was posting on SoundCloud regularly, just instrumentals. I didn't really have artists working with at the time. And he heard that beat. It was like a reggae rhythm. It's funny, it's called Sensi. It was like, marijuana inspired.
Yeah.
And I never smoked no marijuana.
Thank you for telling us that, son.
Around them time there. But he heard it and he made a very beautiful song called Delight. Which is, very like
Delight.
inspirational. I mean, it really is a very beautiful song that he voice noted to me in a DM and just like, hey, I made this song, I want you to hear it, and I don't know if like we could link up. And I was just like, wow, like, because I didn't expect someone to make such a nice song on the beat just so. And I told him, all right, I don't have a mic or a setup, but once I get a mic, then we can link up. Okay. So it was like actually a year after he had messaged me first, and I actually got that mic. And then I was just like, yo, let's link up.
Is this the mic? Because I know you.
That's the mic that you're currently speaking in right now.
Something told me that
I went to Music Mart and got a little help with some of the funding for it and just bought them second fanciest mic. And just run with it for however long, and that was just me and him.
Yes, so the morning connection is benefiting
it's a cardioid mic, so it goes one way, right? But it's...
Yes, Prasta was trying to teach me that earlier. I'm like, okay, it's a
unidirectional.
powered mic, right? That's what we call it.
Right. But no, the mic has done its time because with Chris, we did albums, we did songs. I've told my father already that Beres Hammond, Jesse Royal,
this mic?
Chronics... Every one of them, all of them have used that mic.
And now Minette Lauren.
Right, so it's
Pastor, I will lend you the mic. Don't look so.
But yeah, with me and Chris, I think he approached me initially when I was at UTech after that whole conversation to say, hey, he wants to make some music that involves the arts, because he was in a performing arts group called Quilt from UA. Very amazing performing arts group, directed and run by a guy named Rayan. And Chris would come to my house, and I didn't really know this guy. I mean, we didn't really know much of each other. It was kind of awkward at first, but we were pushing through him over a bag of ideas. I was helping him out, and eventually we started to build some rapport. And then we started to kind of grow, in music. And although our year turned into years of like working on one album, it really taught us a lot. Yeah. And we've just continued working. I mean,
but he has an album out now that we were listening to. He has an album out. Did you know we're playing some of it?
Yes, I heard some of it earlier. And but we were currently working on an EP, but he's also just engaging in some singles himself. And he started out primarily as a gospel artist, but I think he's transitioning into a conscious artist with a gospel foundation. Yeah, which is fairly traditional
in terms of the growth path.
Yeah.
So if you had to characterize the inspiration that fuels your collaboration with Malachi, what would it be?
The inspiration is just how he thinks, how he goes about music. Like, he's just very detailed, and I mean, he really studies music, like regardless of content or whatever. Like, he opens himself to all influences so he can put it back into his music.
So what drives him? His voice or just the spirit of what he's trying to communicate? Because he has a beautiful voice. You rarely hear male artists with that kind of purity of sound.
A strong voice. Because he was in Quilt, so in performance, I think he naturally has that inclination to really sing, and but Quilt really drew that performance character from him.
Out of him.
Yeah.
Okay.
So even in his music, it's very performative more than the regular person. Not even like jump up and down. It's just like
Expressive
very just, like, expressive in
and
his
intense.
face and him sing and even soft and even like it's very like you're watching a show.
A show.
Okay,
You know,
Yeah.
and I just
Alright.
kind of help him kind of balance it out to be like, you know, sometimes to be kind of more relatable. Everything can be
So
performative.
dramatic.
Yeah, it can't be too
Yeah.
dramatic all the time. Yeah.
And the audience is eating and
Right.
we're barely
So,
looking
but
at
because
you.
our first project was very like, he definitely which pulled all the stops. Him get choir, him get strings, him cousin for do some strings.
Orchestra.
Yeah, like I mean they were digital, but still, you know. And we got musicians. We went
He's a
studios.
perfectionist.
Yeah, and it's just like
Yeah.
this is a guy that this is his first project. This is his first time recording music,
And
he
he's
had
self-financed, so you didn't have a label
self-finance.
standing
We
by.
finance
Oh,
the thing. I mean, I
Right.
never charge him or nothing, and
your reward is
Where
in
did
heaven.
it go?
it's where it is right now is that you know we're still working, and he's getting a lot of respect from
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
in the industry.
Well, one of the listeners here just said, boy, that's a lot of talent.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
All right, so of course, you know, you could stay here all day with us, but we do leave at 10 o'clock. And I think we want to take a few calls. I want you to tell me a little bit now about what was the name of the campaign that you did for VM?
Transform me every day.
Transform Your Everyday.
Mhm.
How did you interpret that, and what drove what you did?
Right,
I want you
so-
to talk first, and then we're gonna play it so people
Right.
could hear your words come to life in the music
Right,
that you
exactly.
compose.
Right. So
Yeah.
this is another direction Chris has taken as well. You know, me and him have engaged in doing more ads. You know, more
Also, Chris and
content.
you are a team now.
We are a team, but
They
Chris,
collaborate,
Right. Chris has his
frequently.
own company called
This is the
Intune.
same Chris Malachi?
Same Chris.
All
Malachi.
right.
The
So
Intune and
Intune.
JLL.
Right,
And
JLL.
JLL.
So with Intune, it basically is a call it a ad service company that is making musically. So with the VM, we were approached to basically create 2 jingles, create a music bed, and I think create some backing for the some radio tracks. And yeah, it was quite a process because everything was from scratch. Because you know we didn't necessarily draw straight inspiration from things other than works of our own in the past, or maybe references that were given to us. But like we made variations, versions. You know, I invited a trumpet player,
Ooh.
flutist. Yes,
Pull out the stops.
a whole stops, piano player.
Remember, Chris is
composed
involved
it.
too, you know.
Right,
So
so
it's
like
dramatic.
And-
those influences of Chris.
Right, and if you hear the jingle and you hear how it's written and how emotional it is, that's Chris. He's very talented as a writer. He
So
knows how
what's
to
the
connect.
mood?
The mood is, it's funny because the lyrics are the same, but the mood is 2 different moods.
Ah.
So you have an upbeat jingle and an emotive jingle. So the emotive jingle has a bit more feeling and it's slower and it sounds a bit more emotional. But the upbeat jingle is the same lyrics, but like just a different way to sing
Different,
it.
yeah.
So it's like dancehall and like just you know more for the youth I can assume.
Right,
But
vibrance.
Like, and there's a music
Vibrancy.
bed that's a whole complete arrangement
So
of
what you can
music.
use that music bed to do other things.
I mean, I could, but the music bed was mainly just to kind of provide the
context.
TV, you know, like that very inspirational,
Yeah,
like
a
strings
background
and
and
piano,
context
and like
of-
it's very beautiful.
Yeah. So which one we're gonna hear now?
I think you should hear the 30-second version of the VM group thing. 60-second are perfect. So the 60-second
Alright.
version, you should hear most of our arrangements.
Okay. So hit it.
We all have big dreams.
No, can I say something, John Andre? And it is, I think it's an important checkpoint for us. The opportunities that are available to artists in more mature, longer established industries, countries, they came through a period of struggle, of being marginalized, of not being taken seriously. And they are at a place now where they open up to the world. And one of the reasons they open up to the world is because they recognize that the talent is out there, and they will make more money by embracing it and being open. The issue that is before us is how do we take our own industry through those birthing pains to get to the point now where someone in another country will look at Jamaica and say, may I pack up my things and go to Jamaica because they are more encouraging and accommodating of my talent. It's kind of the way the world sees all these super athletes, well, the sprinters at least. They see something coming out of Jamaica. They are now thinking, what, Jamaica has a factory down there. We need to come, and whether it's the air, the how you sweat, whatever it is, we want to come in on that. So you've touched a nerve. It's a critical nerve because, listen, I would not stop a man who is in the now with the talent pouring out of him from going where he can be accommodated, because I know that talent is like being pregnant. There's no stopping it. And none of us want to have our baby in a taxi. Everybody want to be in a hospital or in the right place. But it's coming out. And there's no stopping it. So
what
I understand why our people have to go. And it's important too that even the country at a leadership level understand why people have to go to the best place to give birth.
Yes.
But for those of us now, person like me and you who stay in the nest, we gotta fix it so that
no, we have to fix it for
or
them. We have to create
there's an environment that
it.
facilitates.
Yes,
Them,
right.
Yeah.
starving.
And that's the thing, because you do realize you realize a boom in just the topics of scamming and things that are, to me, not good things. And just a culture of people doing, just surviving. And
And
just
it's
like,
the same creative talent that
It's
have
the
fueled
same
the
creative
scamming,
talent.
because if you hear them on the
Yes.
phone trying to convince you.
and but that's the thing. But it's
Hello,
it's
I'm
a
calling from so and so could
Right.
I change my voice?
But I
And
just
you
feel
do-
like, honestly,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a kind of person, I see yin and yang in all things. In the sense where, yes, someone is scamming someone out of their hard-earned money, but in their head, I'm sure they're wanting
He's
to make a
surviving.
living for
He's
themselves to
surviving.
survive in a country
Yeah.
where I'm sure they have been neglected, where they possibly try to go through the system, them try to do things the right way, can't get a job. What them going to do? Them going to result in illegal things. And it's just that what happens is the music reflects what's going on in the country.
Of course, art
And if you
imitates life.
incentivize, I get there may be afraid that if you incentivize the creatives to be more creative, then you might incentivize the things you don't want. But the point
But
is
you're
just
getting
that
those things anyway.
you're gonna get it either way,
Yeah.
and then you also don't know what you're also incentivizing that may be positive.
Right.
in the
yeah.
sense
You're
where,
throwing out the baby with the bathwater.
right.
You have to take with the good and the bad and hope that the good rises to the top.
Well,
that drives the
you know,
country
let me
forward.
put in a plug for your parents. You could have chosen any genre of music, but you've chosen what?
I mean, I just categorize it as conscious.
Yeah.
Conscious
And
music.
yes, really provoking thought and reflection and a move towards a more positive outcome for all of us. And the reason why I say I put in a plug for your parents is because it's what's in the heart of a person based on upbringing. And
That
how
comes
would
out.
you describe your journey towards the
Conscious.
choice you made?
It was primarily in just because I am from a Christian background. I'm a very spiritual person, more so than religious. So I definitely I didn't want to be a part of a negative, space in music. But to be honest, I am currently still inspired by everything.
Of
And
course.
the things that to seem negative to some people do have some positive connotations that people can't understand. But what had happened in high school, I think I had made a beat and I sent it to a virgin, and I'm gonna make an artist record on it. Rawest song we ever heard in a while. I'm just like, no, I don't want this. I don't like it. I don't like it.
Raw.
Yeah, and I was just like, like, I mean, I get people say these things as a means of expression. There's always a crowd for it. There's always some sort of encouraging of confidence of people's sexuality, whatever it may be. I can get that. But then there's also tact in what you're trying to explain and sing about. You see,
Okay.
I love all music, but I'm definitely not a fan of the kind of music that just
It's a
doesn't feel
positivity.
progressive to me. Because I do think
And by
that
this now we're talking about lyrics. And
lyrically,
yeah,
and
because-
also I mean even musically, but
Yeah.
they all play with each other.
Yeah.
So like I'm a person, I can praise a Vibes Cartel for just like his talent and his raw ability just to be mold himself.
Mm-hmm.
But also he definitely has a lot of strong topics, and him as a person, very big question mark as to his morals and his values.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And
yeah.
as much as there's gonna be, I mean, it's yin and yang, I believe, but I chose to at least encourage and go along with the things that make me feel good and progress me as a person and make me interact in a more positive way with people around me. So that's why I put myself on a Protege and a Chronix and a JLL and a Savannah, because it's just all positive energy and it's just positive feedback from people, you know?
So we know that I've seen so many of the war movies when as the soldiers are getting in the tanks and they're going out, some heavy rock music starts pounding to kind of get the blood revved up. So we know that music can be used to inspire and to increase the adrenaline for hostile engagement.
Tell me about
Yes,
it.
yes.
And so in the same way, there is the music that inspires and
Relaxes,
uplifts.
Right.
And you have chosen to be in that.
Yes, I have, but it's just art, and I do feel like art is just the voice of the people, and it reflects also the cultures. In America, they love materialisms. Now, some of them, I can't say the whole of America.
Yeah, but you
it's,
see
it's
it.
a topic, yeah,
Yeah.
you know, and just the idea of capitalism, yeah, looking like you are valuable, and all of the songs even mirror that. Big car, big house, you know, going out with my friends, just getting wasted, those kind of things that not everyone can really relate to. But I mean, it's the culture. And down here we have a culture of struggle, a culture of mental emancipation, or at least getting out of that mental slavery.
True.
And I feel like we still have a long way to go. And I will never ever blame what's happening in Jamaica, the violence and whatever, on the music. I mean,
No.
I don't necessarily want violent music to proliferate our radios or our streets and with our kids, because the other day I was talking to actually Daniel,
Yeah.
you know, my brother, and he had a friend talking to on some web stuff, and his friend was interested in me, the Drake thing.
Yeah.
He was asking me questions, and then I was asking him like, who do you listen to? And like him bring up some dancehall name where all know me hear any of them songs. Like, so I just can't take it in.
Well, I have an assignment for you. I'd love for you to get your brother to listen to some more. No, you know, it's funny, you know. He creates videos and he selects his music, and it's always on point. But if you say to him, you know, what kind of music you like, or he say, I don't like music.
You don't like music?
But it's funny.
He said
He's,
music is
he's
for
opening
him,
up to
music
it.
is like, so please open him up to
He's
it for
opening
me.
up to it, you know, because he's making his own music for his videos. One,
Yes.
he actually
Yes,
asked
because
me
he
what
got too
software
many
I
YouTube
use.
notifications.
Right, you know, striking out. So he's asking me what do I use, you know. He's showing more interest in the music side of what I do.
Please encourage.
And he tells his friends, and it's just like, yeah, for sure. I think everyone's definition of music can be different. His definition can be the pop, the mainstream, the things that just like,
Yes,
like,
and I think
don't
that's what
really
he
relate
doesn't
with.
like,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Because there's instrumental music. Music
Yeah.
without vocals that can be just
Yeah.
as beautiful.
And
you
I've
know?
been teaching
Yeah,
about
yeah,
music in
talk
nature.
about-
Anywhere you can find a rhythm of anything, there's
Yeah.
music. There's music.
Yeah,
there's
he's gonna
music.
get to it, man. And
Yeah.
I think once he sees me,
Yes, yes, we'd like to take calls. All right. What are the numbers again? You know
So
how I
you
am
know,
with
I
the,
find
with
that
the Thursday
interesting.
numbers.
I'm a 15-year-old and he's into Sam Cooke and that kind of music. I'm going,
What happened with the music?
Sam Cooke?
Oh,
That's the kind of music, man.
is he still alive?
No.
Oh.
But That's what John Tay listens to, and he has his playlist with those songs. He said I listen to it. He goes on, he picks it up. Redemption song is one. He knows how to play the guitar, so
Nice.
he plays that too. Both of them. So he said, okay.
It's very important here. This sounds like something I would do, you know?
Yeah.
That makes
All right,
sense.
John Andre, while you're in the house with us, because of course you know you're staying for breakfast, we're gonna take a few calls. That we have one number, so listeners, you know how last week and the week before there was drama with audio and so on. We are going to very bravely take a few calls, and it's only one number we're using this morning, and the number is 876-361-6583. 876-361-6583. We have a guest in the house with us. He's a young musical producer of enormous talent, and he is the generation that is going to run things when we have left the field. And of course, we are somewhat embarrassed by the condition in which we are leaving the field.
Not embarrassed, man. We are, come on.
You're not embarrassed? I'm embarrassed.
No, let me explain what I mean.
Okay.
We know there are problems, but we are fighting. That's why
Alright,
we
so
do this every
when-
Monday to Thursday, 16
Yeah.
to 10 o'clock, and we wanted to change narrative, to change mine.
All right, so let me qualify then. We're not embarrassed, but we're not proud.
Yeah.
So, but we're trying to leave it in a better condition
Yeah, for sure.
than it currently is.
Is there a call online?
No, not yet. I gotta acknowledge some of the people who are online chatting with us. Canada, I am going to make sure that VM knows that they have at least one potential customer in Canada.
I thought
So-
they didn't. I know Jane has in Canada, but
So,
I thought
so
that
VM,
they did.
so VM can join the fun in Canada. Young people in politics. So here we talk about the princes of the nation being all those leaders who are in the different industries, or it's not just politics for us. I know that sometimes when we are doing a review of what's going on out there in society, we focus a lot on the politics and what the Prime Minister is saying, or on what different government officials are doing. But for us, John Andre, we regard you as someone making a contribution that is drawing international attention in the area of music and culture,
Yeah.
as one of the princes of the land,
Yeah.
meaning you have influence. How do you see yourself influencing others? I mean, are you conscious of it? Does it affect the decisions you make? Are you kind of carrying that weight just yet?
I'm carrying it now, man, because I'm currently in the progress of building a studio for myself.
Yes.
You know, which I mean is a very big undertaking, and it's a very serious thing. And even before that, I've been told that, you know, I've been inspiring people, and because I don't see myself as big as it may be in real life. Like, you know,
Humble youth, I do a thing.
right, because I mean, I think my name is known, like, possibly amongst the industry. But you know, right now maybe it doesn't reflecting like my social following. I'm not really a big fan of social
But you're
media.
not hunting those
And
things.
I'm not
so
hunting
you're
it
not
down
being
either.
promoted like
Right,
how-
but sometimes
yeah.
you know, sometimes we think that, oh, okay, well, if I'm not getting that much followers, then maybe no one's really talking about me. But then you go out and then people say, oh, JLL, I've heard about you. And it's just like you realize, oh, there's a world outside of social media, and there are people that are actually being influenced. So when the Drake thing came out, there's one specific artist, I can't remember his name right now, but he said like I was inspiring a lot of youths right now, just because I was
Of
a
what
Jamaican
happened. Yeah.
boy that had the intro to the biggest artist on the planet's latest album.
Wow.
Like, I mean, as you start the album, you hear me.
And you hear it for a long time.
Right,
Anybody who
and-
hasn't listened, I'm like,
Yeah.
Can we hear it?
oh,
Can we hear it?
can
Yeah, man. I mean,
Yeah?
if you can find a
No one
clean
will
version,
find it.
I don't think.
clean version.
Version.
Is it?
Yes, the one on YouTube, clean.
Yeah. It must be
Yeah.
clean, and I don't think the song itself
There's the
really.
version of the song.
There's no music is dirty.
No, no music is dirty. Music is what it is.
But it's not opposite. You see, you assume that the opposite.
Radio friendly. Radio friendly.
It's radio friendly.
Radio friendly.
Are you dead in with laugh now?
I am
People
because
were saying,
no, not finding it. All right. Next thing you know, we get all kind of fines for playing Drake's music.
But yeah, I mean, like you can, if you want, you can play the beat on.
You could play the beat from or
I
from
Love You,
or from Masego.
or from
Play-
Masego Navajo.
Yes,
Yeah,
Masego Navajo. That was another big one.
yeah, man. But
Um,
I mean, yeah, like it's really, it's definitely more apparent that I am
You're gonna find
being
it?
seen
Masego.
for the work that I have done, and I am also inspiring people, you know, unbeknownst to me sometimes, because, you know, there's always a
that's the
level of,
greatest thing, you know,
yeah,
about people who leave legacies,
Mhm.
who set out to come up with a legacy. Like you say, I'm doing this.
Mhm.
No, they just go about doing their stuff,
Mhm.
and that's how they get their real legacy, because you're inspired. And when you're, say, gone as we are in the departure now,
yeah,
you know that you have a legacy because you never went out there to create it.
right,
So when
exactly,
you go
yeah.
there to create a legacy, that's where they get the problem because you get the it in a problem.
Right, yeah, for sure. And I try to ground my purpose and my reasoning in things that are real to me,
Yeah.
and not for the acclaim or the validation.
Do it for the love.
Yeah, not the
For
hype.
Not
and
for the
light.
likes.
That's all.
But
Yeah.
John Andre, if it's not too personal, what is your purpose? How do you see your purpose?
My purpose, it's something that I've kind of struggled with for a long time, finding a definite purpose, but I've kind of allowed myself to really not subscribe to a definite anything, because I allow myself to be molded by the truths that come to me, you know, and approach me. Like everything that's been happening with music are the truths that are telling me what my purpose is, you know. Because I get surprised sometimes when things happen. I'm just like, whoa, what? Like, like, you know, I'm not trying to work with Drake or, you know, work with this person, but for some reason I'm getting these opportunities, and it shows me that, yo, like, you are this person. Because I'm hearing a lot of music nowadays that I can be very honest. I think they aren't really what I would like personally, and I do think that. Yes, and that's the track. But I do think that I could be of assistance to like the music field, you
I think
know.
your music is trying to replace you.
Yeah, this is Navajo by Masego. This is the big song. This song have more streams than Drake's song, you know.
Yeah, but the song has been out longer.
Yes, from 2017.
Right.
She don't think of me.
Yeah.
I thought she was an Indian. She be slanging things like a simian.
And if I was to say something quickly on this song, you know, it's similar to how I make music that just inspires me.